Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to RCI TV for round 5 of the RCI Endurance Championship. We're here at Silverstone to kick off the second half of the season. My name is Ryan Gill. I'll be your broadcaster for this evening. And joining me in the commentary box is the ever-dynamic duo at RCI of George Smith and Jesse Lee. How are you doing tonight, George?
Ryan, as always, good to be here and looking forward to some action out here at Silverstone. Looking forward to joining, of course, you two once again for some shenanigans out here in the comms box. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome stuff. And, of course, we've had a little bit of a break since, of course, we were away on some duties for G2 Esports. And Jesse Lee had to hold down the fort with RCI's very own Josh Lation. So, Jesse, how were things going last weekend out at the Hungaroring?
Poorly for almost every single person in this championship. We had Darren King's team, Fortzilla, who sat on the pole at Hungaroring, couldn't even get a podium. The championship leaders couldn't even race. There was some kind of mechanical or electronic malfunction with their driver swap system, and they couldn't get that rectified. We don't exactly know. We just know that their car was not scored and they had to retire because they couldn't get another driver in the car. So poorly for so many people. And it's not just that. The AM championship leader, they were not there as well. So this entire championship has been turned on its head at Hungaroring at the halfway point in the season. And as it stands now, it's all to play for. It's game on for the final few rounds of this championship.
Yeah, so, of course, 4 rounds of the championship done. As we can see, Andre Felix just taking to the grass. And, like you said, coming into the last few rounds now, we have Silverstone this weekend, or this evening rather. We'll be heading to Brands Hatch, then Paul Ricard and Zolder to finish out the season. So an interesting kind of, group of circuits to end us off at. And we're going to be starting quite a technical bunch of circuits here for the second half of this championship. Obviously here at Silverstone, and we'll be heading to the other side of the country next week for Brands Hatch. So we're at the end of free practice right now, just coming to a close. And you can see it's the ever-familiar Fulvio Barazzini in the Orion Race Team Mercedes at the top of the leaderboard. But Ondrej Dedicek and James Parker in the Project Alien 44 Aston Martin, well, they're keeping them company up there as well. In second, Jordan Grantsmith in the 121 Porsche is filling out the top 3. But practice, not entirely the kind of picture that we'd paint out for the race, and we'll be moving into qualifying momentarily. So Jesse, after you gave us a bit of a recap of what happened at the Hungaroring, is there any team out here today coming into Silverstone that you're going to be looking out for in particular?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that Project Alien team, they're the ones that I'm going to be paying attention to most, and that number 44 V8 Vantage, they have the most to gain here. They've shown me the most out of all of the top teams that are not Orion Race Team, that they could really make a run for this championship. And no offense to Stefan Zero and Martin Schumacher in the GC Racing 1 team. No offense to them. It's just I've seen more from Project Alien of James Parker and Ondrej Dedicek. I think today could go a long way for that 44 Aston Martin team to see if they could win this whole thing. And the other team, you cannot forget, Orion Race Team. They were in the driver's seat of this championship going into Hungaroring. Now, folks, they're 4th in the title fight, but they're not far enough back that they're counted out. 191 points up top. They've got 172. So it is still all to play for here. But those are my 2 teams, the 44 and the 126.
Well, Stefan Zero is the first car out for qualifying, the number 42 Lexus. find themselves leading the championship right now. And very interesting to see the Lexus at the top of the field, but of course they've been so consistent, haven't they? The GC Racing team, finding themselves in and around the top 5 in every race pretty much that they've been competing in. They've been showing up every week as well, and not yet had to use one of their sign-outs for, or one of their 2 sign-outs for the season rather. So doing well. And as Stefan Zero makes his way towards Brooklands and Luffield, he will start the first lap of this 10-minute qualifying session.
It is going to be important for these guys in that GC Racing #1 to get a good couple of closing rounds. They need that consistency to still play out for them. And of course, Project Alien quite close on their tail on that championship contention line. So yeah, Stefan Zero gonna have a lot of pressure as we jump on board to take that first outlap here at Silverstone. Out through Cops, Stefan Zero will wrestle that Lexus all the way to the outside runoff before getting onto the accelerator pedal once again. In through Maggots and Beggots, he will then wrestle through once again. It's all about that knife's edge, carrying as much momentum as you can. And then out through Chapel and onto that back hanger straight, where of course you get to hear some of the wonderful sounds of the cars on circuit. We'll jump to these views throughout the broadcast. Onto the brakes once again for Stowe. Lots of braking and overtake opportunities out through here. Some interesting lines that will get used before, of course, the Vale chicane. Tight and twisty, some mistakes can be made. And that means that potentially positions again can be made up through here. Onto the back exit, he will go out through Club and onto the back straight before he makes his way in through Abbey again. Just throws that Lexus in. And Stefan Zero, this is not a cool down lap. This is a hot lap out there. So he's wrestling for everything. And into that arena section through Village he goes. And Stefan Zero looking like he's having a good lap so far. Hasn't looked to invalidate anything. Good exit out through Aintree. And that means he gets down onto the back straight. And into Brooklands. The last couple of corners for Stefan Zero to navigate around. It's Brooklands and Leffield. That tight, twisty right-hander. And then out through Woodcote, and that will be the last that he has to deal with here. And Stefan Zero will be crossing the timing line now. We'll see a 158.008, almost a 158 dead, immediately topped out by Egger with a 156.736 though.
Can I just say one thing that I really love about ACC and I really love about GT racing as a whole is the fact that we use the old pitch straight as our timing and scoring for this place. I love it. You can't tell me that it's not the best version of this racetrack, George.
I mean, I like Silverstone in general. A lot of people maybe have a little bit of a distaste towards it, although, you know, we shun those kind of opinions here because our opinions rock. I'm a big fan of Silverstone. I think it makes for some good racing. It's just long enough for it to like really give you a good sort of battle out between different elements of racing. You can really sort of test your opponents. You've got some, you know, really hair-raising, brave moments where you just throw the car in, and then of course some of the you know, chicanes and hairpins definitely make for some interesting situations. So for me, it's a good racetrack. Lucas Rommel, who we look at the moment in that 137, he's done a good job to put the Porsche up towards the front. 4 minutes left of this quali session remains. 4 minutes 20, should I say. And Lucas Rommel 5/10 off the pace to take pole, but still out on circuit at the moment. He is 3/10 up on his time, so potentially could get closer to Egger. Needs to find a little bit more and does have a little bit more to find out through the last portion of the circuit. And as he makes his exit wide, He has found an extra 10th on this. It's going to be close, but I don't think close enough to take pole. Rommel going to get himself closer, 1/10 behind. And he's going to return to the pit box immediately to make a setup adjustment and see if he can attack this one more time, Jesse.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm sort of amazed that there is such a gigantic gulf. Here's the 722 AOSP car. See a lot of their supporters in our chat. It's going to be Hala in the car right now, getting ready to do this lap. He's in amongst a little bit of traffic. I wonder if that will mess him up at all. This is one of those teams that with one really good race, they could jump to the top of their standings. They've had a solid season so far, and Hala's doing his bit here. Already top of the AM field today. Looking for a little bit more, but what I was going to say is I'm a little surprised there's such a big gap. Thias Egger in the 126 with that 156.73. Then you have about 2/10 back to Rommel, and then Gillies is another half a second back. Do you think that these times are going to continue to get closer, or do you think that's maybe all they have?
No, I think there's a little bit more. I don't think it's the longest session of qualies that you get in this endurance championship, and the fact that you come into a two-hour race. I think the where you start on the grid only plays a small part in the entire factor of where things end up. So yeah, the guys I think have some to find in the race as well. I think different race trims, etc., make a big difference. But as it stands, Egger in first position, of course, in pole. What a place to start, what a place to be with 2 minutes left on the clock. Lucas Rommel in second place there, Alistair Gillies in third, Michael Muthen in fourth, Jordan Grant Smith in fifth, Cody Blackton in sixth, Martin Lawrence in seventh, eighth for Andre Felix, ninth for Felix Rupert, and Robin Hauer is the driver that rounds out the top 10. Sorry, it's actually Jurak Sevenek that rounds out the top 10 in that Bentley. I had a little timing malfunction on my end and got fed someone that was still in the pit lane. So it was Hauer in 10th, Civic in 11th. So it was correct out there. Playing mayhem with my timing sheets on this end of things. But a minute to go, Jesse. And like I said, 2 hours of this endurance race and a lot to play for. Are we sort of midway into the championship? Or just past the midway mark?
We are indeed. This is after the halfway point. This is round 5 of 8. So we are well and truly halfway into it. And like I said, the point shakeup that occurred at Hungaroring could not have been better timed. It basically hit reset on all of the progress that everybody had made on each other all season long. We're going to see those points at some point after qualifying here, so you get a better idea at home what we're talking about. But it literally changed everything. It is absolutely impressive. We're not seeing those times come down. I am starting to get a little nervous. This is Jordan Grant Smith in the 121 Chris Hayes Sim Racing Team car. Got like a little teal blue on there. Gotta like that.
I mean,
very nice looking car.
Everything about that car is delicious. A treat to behold. Porsche manufacturer in the top 5, 3 in fact up there, and then 2 Mercedes. So not the varying sort of qualifying starts that we've seen in terms of manufacturers up there. But Jordan Grant Smith actually going to go and knock that Mercedes down into 5th. So 3 Porsches up in the top 5. And it will now be the closing laps for drivers who are out and potentially able to get their times up. Mikael Sandström in that 899 for the nearly on pace Triple R combo team, coming out and getting themselves currently in a nice comfortable 14th spot. And this will be their final hot lap to see what they've got to bring to the table. And the pressure when you've seen that timing clock hit 0. And you know that you're still out on a lap, and this is the lap that could put you up. And right now, Sundström is up on his time. He's 4/10 up, Jesse. So 4/10 here is going to do a lot for him. Going to jump in potentially into the top 10. So needs to wrap it out. Needs to make sure he has a nice, clean exit through the field. It can catch you out and throw that entire lap's work away. And Sundstrom, not going to lose out, does hold on to that 4/10. And from 14th, he might jump up just a wee bit here. Crosses the line up to 7th, so into the top 10. And a good quali lap coming out from Mikhail Sundstrom. Good pressure being handled, and a good example of what it's like to be out here and do it. Martin Schumacher for that GC Racing number 1 Lexus. What can they do? Currently at the they're currently at the top of the championship, down in 13th place, Jesse. Like you said, that slow Lexus indicates that it's donezo's for Martin Schumacher in the GC Racing Lexus. So a lot of positions are going to be there for them to try and pick up. Rovert, does he improve? 17th for them in that 888. And what an interesting end to quali.
Well, order restored at the top. Matthias Egger in the 1-2-6 Mercedes goes to the top. They've been the sort of class of the field all championship. Of course, they had that terrible, unfortunate incident that was completely beyond their control at Hungaroring, which has put them down in 4th place. But I'm going to tell you something. If you're looking to come back in the second half of this thing and make a statement, well, you have done the best you possibly can do in qualifying. Ryan, thoughts on qualifying?
Well, thoughts on qualifying for me is that it's no surprise that Matthias Egger and Fulvio Barrazzini find themselves up towards the front of the field again. They kind of have been, bit of the class of the series so far. Very surprising to me, though, championship leaders down in 13th after qualifying. Big surprise there. And even more surprising, I think, to me, Ondrej Dedicek only qualifying 11th for the Project Alien Aston Martin, so they're going to be one to watch out for sure.
It is interesting that both those cars haven't had a good quali coming out here, and it's going to be something that we're going to have to watch out for, Ryan.
Yeah, definitely so. And whilst we await the grid...
Yeah, I can tell you one other thing. That number 7 Bentley, they're leading AM or silver in this case. And they sort of inherited that by virtue of, again, more unfortunate events that happened at the previous round. But they have come out here and they've done exactly what the 126 has done for Pro. They have went out here and said that, well, you're not getting the lead back that easily. And now they are the championship leaders and they are way up the grid for them. Absolutely incredible stuff. Here is the championship points as they are coming into round 5. GC Racing number 1, that Lexus at 191 leading the championship over Project Alien in their Vantage V8. Ford Zilla in 3rd place. And that's the team that had an opportunity to take the championship lead, but had a couple of unfortunate incidents that plagued them at the previous round. Orion Racing Team, your pole sitters here today. We're at the top of the championship a week and a half ago. They're back in 4th place, looking up to make up those points. 5th place, Sidemax Motorworks and Yaz Heat in the top 6. Connection Lost Racing, we saw the 404 out there. They could make a splash and a play for a potential top 5 to end this championship today. Occasionally on time, nearly on pace, and Muka Motorsport round out the top 10. And as you see these championship standings, Ryan, it's real close.
Yeah, it is. It is very, very close here. Here's
the bottom half of the top 20, 11th through 20th, the GC Racing 2 team. You got to see a lot of people here that have had issues. Talked about specifically about that number 99 team, the Worst Brothers. I expected them to be a little better than they had been at one point in this championship. They showed some flashes of brilliance the last couple of rounds. We're going to pay attention to them to see if they can get back in. And of course, the 777 in that unusual McLaren instead of an Aston Martin. And this is way back here. Some of these teams have retired from the championship in Pro And here we go to silver. We talked about the number 7 Bentley, the Green Loofah's engineering team. They took the championship lead from 2S Endurance Team Purple. After 2S Endurance Team Purple had issues, they are now the 2-point championship leader, and they are way up the grid in comparison to the Triple Two. And of course, the AOSP team in third place. And these, of course, also those teams that have lost out in this championship. And here we go to the full AM teams, the 420 Performance team staying at the top of the grid. And they have, this is the biggest championship gap we've seen. The number 23 Tech One Racing team is chasing them down, but find themselves some 14 points or so behind. So that sums up the championship. What do you expect to see here today, George Smith?
I expect to see some good racing, and of course, Silverstone, the place that's going to do it. We get to have a look at our starting grid now. What a beautiful sight it is as we run down the order. Of course, Fulvio Barrazzini in that 126 Mercedes will start in pole. Alongside him, Nicholas Bosselet will start in the 137. Third will go to the number 121, piloted by Jordan Grant Smith. Alistair Gillies in the number 166. The number 18 by Michael Muthen starts in 5th. Jurek Sevenik starts in 6th in that number 7. 7th place in that number 899 goes to Mikhail Sandström. And Martin Lawrence with the number 404 starts 8th. 9th goes to Cody Blanton in that number 9. And the number 777 of Sebastian Brunier rounds out the top 10. James Parker starts in 11th in that number 44. Andre Felix in that number 675 starts 12th. 13th for Stefan Zero in the number 42. Number Maximilian Wolmuth starts 14th. Rabah Hauer starts in 15th in that number 722. Number 34 of Karim Asawi starts 16th. 17th goes to Michael Rovert in that number 888. The number 23 of Zyko Madso starts in 18th. The number 19th position car, the number 21 of Lubomir Zeman on the grid. The number 420 of Martin Muthen down towards the back of the grid. Wust, Mathers, Schuller, Winkler, Fitzgerald, Chadwick, Roschik, and Andy Howard round out our 28 car grid as we get a flyby of our grid as our leaders start to pull away in single format for that first lap, warm-up lap. And Jesse, Ryan, it's about time we go racing here at Silverstone.
Yeah, it absolutely sure is. I'm tingling with anticipation. I don't know exactly what to expect here today. Order sort of restored in the fact that Barrazzini's back in the car for the 126, and they are leading them around in the Orion Racing Team Mercedes. And of course, Finchek in the number 7, Bentley doing the same for his class. And of course, Michael Muthen in the 420 back there in 20th place. He always seems to finish higher than he starts. So as they get around here, just going to mention a couple things. 3 mandatory pit stops, including driver changes here today, as is standard on this championship. Round 5 of 8 coming at you live from Silverstone. Track's a very nice 11 degrees C, if not a bit chilly. No wind to speak of, and very un-British weather here. Only partly cloudy and expected to stay that way for some time into this race. But right now, everybody, the nervous anticipation to get this race underway. For a lot of these guys, it will be an unfamiliar turn 1. People so used to using the Formula 1 pit straight, and of course this using the old GT pit straight. Lovely stuff. I talked earlier about how much I enjoy that. Brian, what do you expect to see out of this race today? Do you think it's going to be a case of the 126 hiding from the field up front?
Well, I think that in terms of, you know, the 126 of Matthias Egger and Fulvio Barrazzini, I think, you know, their objective is quite simple, really. Pull away and don't let anyone catch them. But of course, it's never quite that easy, is it? And I think that's going to be the game plan. but it's going to be down to Lucas Rommel, really, or Nicolas Bosselet, whichever one is starting the car, because ACC does sometimes not show us who is starting the car. I did see Bosselet's name tag on the Porsche when we did the flyby, although Lucas Rommel is apparently in the car. So it'll be down to that 137 Porsche to put himself, you know, in front of the 126 at the start of the race. I think if the Porsche can get in front, we've got a race on our hands for the win. If the Porsche can't get in front and the Orion Race Team Mercedes leads at the end of the first couple of laps, then I think it's going to be a fairly straightforward race from there.
George, you've been in these situations before. You've been in big races. You've been in championships. You got a lot of cars. For some of these guys, you got to get through traffic. For some people, it's just about getting a clean start. Where's your head at right now, a couple of turns away from the start of this thing?
It's 2 hours, Jesse. You're telling yourself it's 2 hours. You know that people are going to try and make up positions in the first corner. No matter how many drivers' briefings you have, now how many times people are warned, you know, to take things easy in the first lap. They're racing drivers, man. You're not looking to take things easy. You're trying to look for position, and you're trying to do it as safe as you can. It doesn't always work out, but as you start to get that warning to line up 2 by 2, that's when things start to get serious, and this is where things start to get serious. And Endurance Championship Round 5 here from Race Club International. We have to just thank out our partners, Race Department, AK Informatica, Raceface Speed Labs, and Next Level Racing ahead of our race start here. And this is going to be a good one to watch out. Our championship leaders all the way down the order in terms of the start. Matthias Egger starts on pole position for Orion Race Team, and we're just waiting for those green lights to go to get us underway. And there goes our race start, and across the line goes Matthias Egger, throws himself across the apex and takes the lead of this race almost flawlessly up towards the front. It now will be a battle down towards the back of the pack. Rommel and Grant Smith will battle it out. Rommel will get the jump ahead of Grant Smith, who settles back into third. Gillies and Muthen seem to be in a pack of cars behind them. Look at the train as they make the exit out through Chapel and on to the back of the hangar straight for the first time. Looked like a good clean start from everyone. A little bit of dust getting kicked up in the background, Jesse, but that's the kind of start that we want to see for a 2-hour race. Everybody's starting to look for some positions, and a small contact going to come out in the middle of the field.
Absolutely. This is the thing. You get the field bottled up, and you got Svenchek right here in the 777, or excuse me, in the single 7, I should say. He's got Mikkel Sundstrom behind him in the 899. This is sort of bottleneck. You got an Amber Silver driver here up in the top 10, and then all of a sudden things like this happen, and hopefully they will fan out. But when you get a bottleneck like that, chaos can ensue, and they're half a lap around here. They haven't made a full lap, and you have to take care of your car, because like you said, it's a 2-hour race, and it is called an endurance championship, but it's more like a sprint race. As the number 9 of Cody Blanton thinking about making early moves here. Can he possibly get by? It doesn't look like it, but he will maintain his position in front of the 777 of Mark Whitford.
He's getting forced all over the track at the moment. They're trying to find some position, and there's only a couple of ideal lines around here. If you don't take them, you lose out big time down the field, and this is where these interim battles can... Oh, Blanton almost running into the back of Lawrence there. Is going to have to get on the brakes. Does cause a whole domino effect behind him, as everybody has to get onto the anchors a little bit differently, and it's botched up the whole run down. And Lawrence there needs to be careful. If he loses out to any of these drivers behind, they're all looking to make up positions as they go over the timing board. The times are just incredibly close between the fields. We see those mandatory stops coming out. That means that they are going to have to share their car with their co-drivers in this endurance championship. So it's all about getting a clean start, making sure that you can set things up for a potential good start. The number 42 of Stefan Zero gets turned around as he comes out through Maggots Beckett's. And the contact from behind, not what you want to see, Jesse Lee.
Oh, George, championship leader, huge championship implications here. He had a terrible qualifying, pulled off on his last lap, like you said, and now all of a sudden he's backwards in the dirt in Maggots and Beckett's, and that is how a bad day goes worse. Recovery drive for that team.
And Jesse, Project Alien involved in that maneuver itself. So I mean, it's first and second in the championship that just got involved in that. So, from here, things could change up. Penalties potentially going to be handed out from the stewards. Things could really, really change out for how things change in the championship. And you mentioned it before, the Angora Ring round was something that did add a little bit of a spanner into the works for the championship and change things up with us going into the back stretch of the round. So, everything to play for is Jurek Sevenik in that number 7 at Bentley, our AM driver that just really is needing to go into pro in the next season. It's just been such an outstanding drive from them, and right now 5th overall, first in class. And just to give you an indication, I mean, the next AM car is down in 13th place overall and currently got his own battle with Asawi in that number 34 Mercedes. We're having a look at Tiago Lima in at that number 675 Aston Martin, of course, from Phoenix Racing Portugal. Lovely color scheme being used out on a white base plate, and certainly a color palette that works out. But he is under pressure from that second place AM car of Harver, that 722 Aston Martin just behind him, Ryan.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a chaotic start, hasn't it? Plenty for the live stewards to look into very early on here, of course, involving the Bentley up towards the front of the field, and of course the Aston Martin of the Project Alien Racing, Ondrej Dedicek, obviously he's going to be under investigation, and the championship leader just, in strife at the back now. I mean, down towards 17th place, so if they're going to maintain this lead of the championship, they're going to have to fight for it well and truly here, as we can see Felix Ruppert just holding the likes of Ondrej Dedicek at bay.
I tell you what I'm looking at. I'm looking, where are all of my championship competitors right now? Where have every single one of them gone? They are literally nowhere right now. And Matthias Egger, the only one of them smiling. Well, that's not entirely true. Svenček is also smiling in 5th place in the overall. And, of course, first place his championship. I just looked it up, actually. The 222 of 2S Team Purple is not here this week. They've signed out. So that's not a mechanical issue. That is an intended sign out. They were by far and away the championship favorites coming in, but they are going to be well and truly behind the 8 ball, so to speak, after this. And this could potentially, if the 7 is going to perform this well, which they performed admirably up to this point, but this sort of pace, top 5 pace, George, that's incredible for a silver car.
It's definitely good to see people pushing the limits and the boundaries, and it's what we want to see is drivers stepping up their game. And, it's not always just about where you find yourself at the start of the season. It's all about where you progress to. And that's where the relegations and the progressions go through, and you can kind of start to stack drivers up and to see where they stand up. So, if you are looking to get involved and want to be involved in these sort of championships, there's a very stacked grid of drivers out here competing, and it's really fun in the format that it is, having to share the car with another driver. A lot to learn. Just get over to the Racing Club International Discord. That's really where we convey all of the best sort of information for people to kind of get in touch with us. And we're always looking to expand those driver pools. Ondrej Dedicek in that Project Alien car needs to make up some positions in the field, obviously starting far back, having a contact with the championship leaders car, that number 42 Lexus, who finds themselves down in 23rd place now. But Lima looking good to get on by with his business. Rupert in front in that number 16 Audi, 1/10 behind is Dedicek, and the ominous music is closing down indeed as he starts to get closer. Apex by apex, on board we go as we head out through Aintree, and a good exit is needed to get the run down, using some slipstream if you can in these GT3 cars, and then just kind of etching yourself to find that later braking point. Where can you push it? How much speed can you carry through? How fast can you go through without unsettling the back end, the front end of the car, and of course not leaving a big opening in your defense to any of the cars behind you, because one small mistake in a field like this and suddenly you find yourself 2-3 cars down the field. Because if you look down the order from Rupert back. I mean, the rest of the field is separated by half a second, so a tiny little mistake and it's all gone. Rupert doing a good job to get the exit that he needs though, Jesse. So it is going to be another lap for Dedicek to try and attack.
It absolutely is. I mean, the next victim is going to be Mark Whitford in the 777 up there. If they can figure out which one of them is going to lead the charge here. Talked a minute ago about how the 44 wasn't up where I expect them to be. Dedicek and the Project Alien team, really used to seeing him and James Parker way up there. He's going to try to go down the inside here of Rupert. No, he is not. Can't quite get it. Rupert goes wide. Dedicek up the inside. Is he going to be able to complete the pass? Rupert not giving it up lightly, but in fact, the pass has been made. Is there a counterattack? No, there is not. Everybody falls in line, and as if on schedule, the 44's next victim is going to be Mark Whitford, as I said, and that will likely end up in Whitford. Knowing Whitford a little bit better than some of these other drivers, he's going to fight him, but he's also not going to hold him up too much. But that was an excellent move, an excellent pass. He put his car on the apex, and Rupert went wide, and he got by. And that is a veteran team. Just earlier this season, we saw Project Alien, the team that got its name from James Parker trying to turn Andre Dedicek into an alien himself, as in the pace that is. And we saw that confirmed a few rounds ago where they won overall. So seeing them so far down the grid is unnatural indeed. Going through the sort of the AM field now, looking at some of the AM cars and some of the battles going on deeper into the field here. Here's Van Wingerden, who is just in a line of cars, but he is being fought by another Lexus behind him. That's Stefan Zero. That's the car that we expect it to be further up the field. There may have been contact earlier. It's not gone the way of Stefan Zero, but it's Lexus on Lexus right now. Of course, the white-nosed Lexus, an AM car, and Stefan Zero, not so much. And here we go back up front here. This is Dedicek looking to get by Mark Whitford. Whitford not having any of it, throws the block, tries to get back on the apex, bottles this entire lineup. Rupert and Lima now join the fray here. Can Dedicek get by him before Rupert has a rebuttal on him?
Down into Stowe, this is where maybe you can look onto the braking zone, but that's not going to be opened up at all by Whitford. He's going to go onto the defensive. Now down to Vale. Again, you can push the braking limit to an extent, but there's not a line that just opens up and onto the brakes. They all get closer to one another as they make that exit out and out through Club. They need the run, they need the exit speed through, and it's all down to the chase. The cars behind Whitford all have the benefit of the slipstream as they get their way around past the old, what would be the start-finish straight for the F1 drivers down the pit stops. But the number 44, he's looking to put so much pressure onto that 777 McLaren and into the stadium arena. They come out and they will stay in the same positions that they were in. So Mark Whitford from the Open Visor Racing Club doing a good job to keep the 720S of his ultra defensive. And it is kind of like that, right, in racing. If you put the car into the right racing line, having to force someone off the racing line is always something incredibly difficult. I think Kimi Räikkönen in F1 is still one of the drivers that does such a great job in that genre of racing. To put people into a place where you have to get off the racing line to really fight for position. And we see a lot of that in GT3 racing, which is what makes it so exciting. On board that splitter cam with Andrzej Dedicek in that Project Alien number 44. They are trying to make up positions, of course, but at the moment into Maggots Beckett's they go, and not really onto the back end of Whitford. So we see what happens when you get caught up having a little battle behind, having to go a little bit defensive, having to keep an eye on the wing mirror to make sure that you don't lose out yourself. Rupert and Lima behind, waiting, ready to pounce if they can. Lima all over the back of Rupert. In fact, might go up the inside into Stowe. And I don't think he is going to make that move come out, and they will stay in the same four-car position.
Well, the verdict on some of the incidents in the first couple of laps have been judged. The number 7 Bentley as we saw, had collision up front. And that's resulted in the number 7 who collided with the 166, I think it was. It's been given a 15-second time penalty. And the 101 and the 224 came together, and the 224, they've been given a 15-second penalty as well. And just as I've said that, I've had a few more come through the door. Jesse Lee, what has Mr. Jake Boswell got for you?
Well, Jake has some unfortunate news. Incident on turn 9 of the first lap. The 666 and the 23 got together, 5 seconds for the 23, and an additional warning for his driving. Lap 2, turn 4 incident between the 42 and the 44 that you expertly caught, Mr. Ryan Gill. 15-second penalty awarded to the 44 car for causing a spin to Stefan Zero's machine. So just so many penalties for the heavy hitters already. I thought Hungaroring was going to be as crazy as it possibly could be, and that was a fairly straightforward race with some major incidents. Today, we have grace, but a lot of the main players are having issues. I don't know what to expect. I mean, certainly all of these guys, on their pit stop, they will have the ability to serve these penalties after pit stop, which means that they will either, well, all of these cases, there'll be 15-second penalty applied at the end of their stop, or a 5-second penalty in the case of the 23. As we're going to see, is he finally going to make this pass on Whitford? It certainly looks like, or maybe not. They are still side by side. This is Britain's dream. 2 British marks racing on a British track side by side, and you couldn't script this stuff. The 44 knows that he hasn't been given a penalty, it must be said, but he has one on our scoring board, but he doesn't have one in sim right now, so that's very interesting. But the pass does get made. Dedicek through Whitford, and now Whitford, who is going to be under fire from Rupert. Going to get some clarification on that, boys. I'm not sure why Dedicek hasn't actually received his penalty yet, but Rupert going around the outside. Can he do it? No, he can't. Will he be undercut from Lima behind? No, he will not. Just not enough room to get that car turned down and under him, and 675 still trailing the 16. Absolute chaos to start this race, George Smith.
You know, it's a little bit of controlled chaos. I think in the midst of things, there's always going to be a couple of kabooms that get sorted out by the stewards at the start of the races, and we sort of settle in for the mid part of the race. But the driver's not really edging off, not really wanting to settle into a rhythm too early on. I think trying to settle for some early positions. Maybe not wanting to pan things out too long. If you can make your way through the field when you can, you need to do so. Otherwise you get caught up losing a lot of time, and then you lose out on your potentials that you can make up in your pit stop strategies. So, throughout the field here, Rupert, for example, a lot of pressure out from Lima. Can't really focus on what he wants to get done. At a chance, was defending off Dedicek. Quickly dispatched through of that, and now really can't get his eyes focused on the next part. You see Lima every turn that he gets, that number 675 darts himself out, looks for a false move up towards a fake, as you would say, and all of that is just getting into the mind of your opponent. You're permanently trying to push those breaking points, trying to find the line, and the likes of Robert Hauer will also, in that amateur 722 from ASOP, will start to see all of this in front of him. Starts to smack his lips in delight because, potentially for him, some positions in class, he wants to get as far away from the next car behind him in terms of full position on track, and that will be that number 34 Mercedes in 15th place overall. And if he can put as many of these pro cars between him and any of his virtual enemies, I mean, when you're fighting on track like this, you know that you're still going for an overall spot. I mean, even if it's not for points, in the back of your mind, you're permanently thinking, I need to be up there, I can get into a top 10. As an AM driver, finishing overall top 10, blah, 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 narrative set, you want more. You don't have a real, challenge to battle those people out. So if it's in a situation where, it's costing you time in fighting for a useless position, and you then cost yourself a position overall because you've done that, then you'll learn from that mistake. So I think where drivers are at the moment, they're kind of in a position where you can kind of get past the slower cars that are, you know, maybe lapping a little bit more conservatively. And that's really the focus point, you know.
Guys, I think that's a very good point, and I would like to attempt to make one of my own. I have been doing some math.
Oh dear Lord, no, not again.
No, Ryan, it'll be fine, because I have been doing the math. We had somebody ask in chat who is going to be leading silver now. Currently, it's Svinček in the 7 car with his 15-second penalty. He is currently leading, but I think Hawa is going to take, or at least at present time, is going to take over the silver lead after the 7 serves their penalty on their pit stop. I think Hawa, as long as he doesn't get in trouble, as long as he doesn't hold himself up too much on those cars in front that George was talking about, I think AOSP takes the lead of this race for silver here at the first pit stop interval, which will happen, what do you reckon, in the next 10-ish minutes or so?
I mean, it could be in the next 10-ish minutes. I guess there's no real limit here. I think you're trying to push the first sets of tires that you've got out here. Oh, you know, I hate trying to guess it. I love just to...
I love guessing. I love guessing. I love being wrong.
No, I don't think you're wrong. I think sometimes it's a little bit hard to see where a lot of these cars are. I think there's potential bunch of cars that could benefit from going into a sort of pit stop now and then coming out with a bit of fresh air. But at the same time, looking down the sheet, there are some cars that are sort of lacking down in the field. So you will never find yourself in a potentially always dead air position unless you've sort of found yourself on the right lap at the right time. So there's a little bit of guessing work that goes into these sort of things, and unless you've got your teammate out there that's doing the real calculations out there, it's not always the easiest thing to know yourself as a driver. But looking at this is a battle within the top 10. Obviously, everybody here trying to look for a position. Martin Lawrence in that number 404 Audi. Of course, Mikkel Sandstrom in the 899 Audi in front of him. And then we've got Cody Blanton in that number 9 Ferrari just behind the 2 Audis. They come down into Vale, still in the same positions that they came in. And this is what you like to see up towards the front of the order. You saw this in the mid-pack down towards the back of the pack. You know, there are just drivers out always looking to change up positions. And this is why we like having so many cars on the grid. This is why we like having longer endurance races, because it starts to put people into, you know, forced conditions where, you know, if you're in this situation, the amount of focus that you need is someone like Martin Lawrence. You're following a car, you've also got a car behind you, and you've got to always be aware that whatever you try is going to expose you to risk. So you get forced around the outside, that means that you've left the inside open, and the driver behind can then just slot his way back through, get alongside, and establish the fact that you have to then give and yield that space. So you permanently want to keep them at least behind your back bumper. And if you can't, then you have to start getting into that gentleman's agreement space where, you know, alongside is alongside and a racing line gets given up. And we saw what happens when that happens down into somewhere like Vale Chicane. If 2 drivers do give each other the room, if you've got the inside line coming in, when you get the exit out through club, if you've maintained the side-by-side, you've then got the better exit out. So sometimes it does mean you commit to something that's a little bit more wild. And Mikkel Sandstrom is going to put someone like Martin Lawrence to exactly that task. Try and make him do something that is untoward and is going to compromise his own race. And at the same time, know that number 9 of Blanton behind, if he just you know, slows them down just a tiny bit, then suddenly Lawrence has to defend off him.
I hate to be the bringer of bad news. Actually, Nico's the bringer of bad news. I am just the reader of bad news. 15-second penalty for car 34, causing a collision with the 888. That was on lap 1. They were given an additional warning by the stewards in that case. Warning was given to the 722 car for some sort of contact or maneuver with the 34 car. And also on lap 1 in the 14th turn, cars 86 and 21 had a coming together, 15 seconds awarded to the 86 car. And still as of yet, we have not seen the 44 be hit with their penalty marker yet. So I'm incredibly curious of why that hasn't occurred. They have not rescinded the penalty in any way. So I am under the impression that they are meant to be serving one, but something has not worked out the way the stewards would have liked. But either way, George, to your point, and I'm just going to speak on this briefly, I know it's counterintuitive to think of it like this, but it is sort of a strategy, and it's a strategy that I've used certainly before. A lot of times it's easier to pass somebody in the pits than try to get around them on the racetrack. And if you're not being dramatically held up, maybe you don't press as hard. You got to pick your battles. You got to know where you are on the track. You got to know who you're racing. And if you think you're going to have an advantage on somebody, especially if they have a penalty or if they're just running slower and you think, I can make up the time on the outlap when I'm not behind them, that's sometimes better because you don't have to race them. You don't have to jeopardize yourself. You don't have to put yourself in danger. And certainly we see that all the time. And that's what makes the guessing game that I like to play so interesting, is because we have these pit stops which are coming up. We don't exactly know what's going to happen. We don't know if we've seen drivers lose races, George, based on having just one bad pit stop that's just a few seconds slower. And they've got to make 3 of these things today. It's going to be incredibly interesting to see as it all comes up. And there we have it, the 15-second penalty for the 44 car. That has been entered. And look at this brilliant maneuver here. Sundstrom getting passed up by the Connection Loss Racing team. Got it done. It's like he didn't even fight him that hard, but it is still a fight here between the 9.
No fight. No fights even required. And like I said before, you always got to be careful of what comes through. And that Ferrari just going to challenge up the inside. Mikael Sundstrom maybe looking to see if he overcooked that braking pointer. But just going to settle back, let the likes of Cody Blanton get on with what he needs to do. Because at the end of the day, it is exactly what you said, Jesse. It is exactly what you said. It's all about timing your pit stops and making sure that you get that side of things controlled. And sometimes not having a battle on track is a good sort of place to be when you start to come into that maybe pit stop era. Because you need to be focused. One small mistake there, you speed in the pits, you take the limiter off too early, you don't stop the car in the right spot, you have to reverse in there. All kinds of things can go wrong before you've even selected the wrong strategy. Thiago Lima really wants to get past the likes of Whitford. We're going to jump on board with the Aston Martin, the number 675 Phoenix Racing Portugal team. Currently in 11th overall and 10th in class. Of course, the silver driver of Sevenik is going to make a bit of a change up to what would normally be a pro top 10. Giving themselves a good shot up in 5th place. Thiago Lima looking to see if Whitford makes any sort of mistake. We've seen Whitford lose out positions to the likes of Dedicek, but has yet to have to really fight someone of his own sort of speed levels at that point. Dedicek, of course, down the order from where they should have been. That coaching coming in from Coach, should I say Coach James Parker. Mark Woodford really has to make sure that he doesn't allow Lima to get something for free. So if you can make someone's race a little bit more challenging, push them a little bit more, make them use their tires up, slow them down, anything like that. If they are still going to get past you, is then still a win. So rather than find yourself committing to the hard defense and knowing that you can stay ahead, or knowing that this person is going to get past you at some point, but how long does it take them to get there? You did see some lovely footage of Lima trying to park his car in the back of that 720S, and they don't always go. Lima doing the right thing to making sure no contact comes in, but what an exit comes out through Brooklands, and now
Look
the
at
field,
that defending.
6-7, well, 6-7-5 also getting a good run out here. That defending is going to be
All the
costly
lights.
coming out. The lights of, I see you, peekaboo, I once pass you, and, you know, it doesn't always work. Some
Is that
people don't get
frustration?
affected. No, it's, I mean, to me, it's not. I don't think so. People obviously have different opinions. I think, you know, lights can be used in different circumstances. I mean, people can do things on track that are a little bit untoward. You get in the angry flashes. I think Lima just being ultra defensive isn't really that frustrating side. For Lima, I think Whitford is actually just doing a good job at, you know, just putting his car in the right place. But Lima knows that, you know, many laps of doing this isn't going to work out for the 777 because the exits and the slipstream are going to be there for the Aston Martin. He just has to find a way past, and I think it will be out here through Stowe. One of these laps, he just needs to put it a little bit side by side, even around the outside. Gives you that inside line coming down into Vale, and a very good place to pass someone that you've been having a battle with, because the braking point there can really be explored compared to other parts of the circuit.
Yeah, this is excellent defensive driving. This 777 Open Visor Racing Club team, they're pretty good at defensive driving. And of course, they want to hold on to this. They know that they're going to get promoted well inside the top 10 due to the penalties. By the way, the 420 car received a penalty as well for causing a collision. That's sort of new since the last time we brought you a penalty report. And of course, pit stops have already begun to cycle through here. And if I'm Lima, I'm getting into pit road right about now, because all I'm doing is being held up by a car that doesn't quite have me in the corners, but can keep up with me on the straight. So I would pit sooner and try the overcut than anything else. But Ryan, do you respect a driver that drives well and safely defensively, or does that just frustrate you more?
Well, kind of glad you asked this, Jesse, because I've, as we see, both the 777 and the 675 pull into the pit lane. I've actually had the pleasure of racing against probably one of the best defensive drivers in ACC, at least in my opinion, and that would be Cormac Ryan Meenan. Obviously,
don't say that name around me.
One of the Ryan Meenan brothers. Cormac. Oh, I mean, he's so hard to get around. He really is. I followed him around Laguna Seca for 55 minutes in a 90-minute race, and I never got past him. I just never got past him. I know it's tricky to pass at Laguna Seca, but the amount of times I was convinced I had him, I was convinced I was through, and just couldn't get past him. And I can respect that from people. I mean, you want to do the best job that you can. And, you know, me as a driver, I would probably prefer, especially at this early stage of the race, I would probably prefer if people, you know, maybe thought a bit more about the long game. Having said that, you know, everyone has every right to defend their position. And, you know, who doesn't like some hard racing?
No, I love it. I love it when some of these drivers get defensive. And keep in mind, the 777 did nothing wrong. And by the way, I love how the 777 went in, and so did the 675. So no net gain there going to happen unless somehow magically the 675 had a faster pit stop. And I don't think that's actually what happened there.
It is actually.
No, it actually is. Yeah, it is. I was looking at the wrong car the whole time, as it turns out. Egg on my face. But yeah, that's exactly what's happened there. The 777 had a slower pit stop there, and the 675 is already down and gone. So I'll be curious to know what exactly was going on with them. And I think we've just got our answer to what has been going on with the 777. A incident with the handoff to the car to his driver, Sebastian Bernier, I suspect, has occurred. And that is exactly why the 675 was quicker.
I get the feeling by what we just saw that the 777 has probably encountered some sort of internet service issue.
I think Whitford has had a history of incidents like that where there was some sort of issue. It could, again, we're all just speculating at this point. Could have been literally anything. But yeah, based on the fact that cars do not drive like we just saw, we are going to imagine that's happened. That's going to be disappointing because I think that's going to knock them out of the race. And I mean, it was looking good for a top 10 for them, even though they were being hounded for that 10th spot. A lot of people in front of them were making mistakes, George.
It's not fun when it's something that's out of people's control that causes something where you've had a good race so far and not able to see it to the end. So yeah, I completely agree with feeling a bit sad for people out there that haven't had a good one. But on the upside, for some drivers, it means that it's a position that you make up, and a position's a position when it comes down to points. And you're a driver, yes, you want to make up positions with decent overtakes on track, and you want to have fights out there, but you're not at all really sad when you're picking up points for potential moves that are made on people that have had a longer pit stop or have maybe gone off track, or anything. Roy Moman decides to go into a Tokyo Drift 360 no-scope rotation, coming out through like expected, goes round, catches it, decides to let it go round, does a nice little cheeky J turn and comes back out. So Roy Moman will get himself back out on circuit, will still stay third in class, or sorry, not third in class, probably fifth in class at this point, as we see a little look-see towards the likes of Danisi. I'm not quite sure who's coming up behind him here. So that's the Bentley of Slizik. He's got past Slizik, and now Danisi has to go ultra defensive as they come into Aintree.
So Jesse Lee's mathematics were correct that the number 722 would come out ahead of the Bentley earlier on.
Broken clocks work twice a day, right?
Well, I'll leave you to do some more calculations on where the likes of Matthias Egger is going to finish this race.
Did Jesse just give us the right saying, or did you just butcher it?
I did butcher that, but I was quite hoping you all would ignore that. A broken clock is right twice a day. It's the saying I was going for, but I was mid-sip of my beverage, and I completely fumbled that.
I mean, I didn't want to throw you out under the front of this Aston Martin, but
No, it's fine.
It is what it is.
I'll just shake the road rash off. It's fine.
Okay, it's a look that suits you sometimes, Jason, and I do like it when you give us some good old sayings, especially when you butcher them out there. I'm a fan of biltong. If you've ever not had that from South Africa, you definitely should try it. Good snack.
So the 722 looks like he's pulling away from the number 7 Bentley. The number 7 Bentley, which of course has been doing quite well as of late in the championship, and that 15-second time penalty proving to be quite crucial at this early stage of the race. And what do we think, Jesse? Do we think that the Aston Martin here of Danesi, do we think he's got the pace to pull away from the number 7 Bentley behind and, potentially take a win here in the silver class? Or do you think the Bentley is just going to warm its tyres up a bit and, get right back into this fight?
Well, I'm going to be completely frank with you here. I think, beyond everything, as we see James Parker in the 44, who had that 15-second penalty, they find themselves outside the top 10. They are trying to get by Slizik here. Going to try everything, try to make the straightaway as long as possible, going out wide, trying to get around the 7, because, of course, this is not where James Parker for Project Alien belongs. They belong way further up the field, but of course that Bentley has the grunt down the straightaway. But just look at the closing speed of Project Alien and James Parker in the 44. Absolutely amazing. He gained like 6 car lengths down into the corner. Excellent stuff there. But my simple synopsis, though, Ryan, is I think Serafini Danesi is a little quicker than Slizik right now. I don't think it has anything to do with the car. I just think that Slizik, his pace isn't quite on Danesi's pace at the moment. So this is going to be interesting because I think the 722 is going to continue to gap him and look at him on the board. They have opened up that gap. Of course, Slizik is being hounded by James Parker. But what happens now? Whenever Slizik gets out of the car and Danesi get out of the car, I think the 7's going to have the advantage again.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Sorry, go ahead, George.
No, I mean, for me, I was going to say that I want someone to get as excited about me as JC Lee gets as excited for someone like James Parker chasing on a silver driver. I mean, shame, JC. Like, the man deserves more for his defense up against the likes of James Parker than James Parker having for making up positions in that spot. I mean, that should be easy pickings for James, right?
Oh, look at Haynes.
Haynes on the inside is going to have... Oh, on the outside, Mawson, though, looks to see if he can have a little look. But look at the legs on the Mercedes down the straight. Oh, into the braking zone they go. They give each other room coming out. The Mercedes, with a nice deep exit, does settle himself in through for the inside line out through the field. And the Porsche of Ryan Mawson going to have to tuck back in, and tuck he will into the aero of the Mercedes GT3 in front of him. And just look at him ducking and diving, looking to see if he can go around the outside, trying to see what he can throw down, but it's not going to be the place to do so, as the Mercedes a better exit out through T1 and sets himself up to have a good complex of corners for Maggots and Beckett's. All for Ryan Mawson now to make up. Needs to get onto the back of the Mercedes, and yes, he does. Out through Club, he needs the run to hold on to the back and needs to make sure, sorry, it's Chappell that he needs to have the rundown, and it is not going to be where he needs it. Flashing lights, and I think that's like the flashing lights to say, like, bye-bye, mate. See you a little bit later, maybe?
All I know is that Haynes got it all wrong. I don't even recall what turn that was. The camera was zoomed in nice and tight on the 18 of Haynes, though, and he got off onto the dirt, and that let Mawson catch all the way up to him. An intense couple of corners there, narrated perfectly by George Smith. I love it when drivers, I almost like defensive driving sort of battles more than I like a straight up pass, because it gives us, not only does it give us more to talk about, but it's more interesting when you see a driver get incredibly defensive. This onboard cam, Ryan Gill on top of it with the cameras. This is the inside of the 121 Chris Hayes Sim Racing team. And this is Haynes in front of him in the number 18. We're going to see if they can get this sorted out. Nothing doing quite yet, as of course that Mercedes has the legs on the Porsche on the straightaway.
Mercedes does have a lot to prove, and these two are definitely giving us such a good battle out on track together. And just looking to find that line is that number 18, and oh, this is where it's gonna... Oh, big mistake! Comes up, both of them on the dirt, trying to get onto the accelerator too early. And it will be Haynes who walks out victorious. Mawson sent into the barricade, licking his wounds. He will onto the onboard replay. We will get to see what's just happened down into the braking zone. This is where that Porsche gets himself almost in a position to strike. It's forced to go around the outside of the field, tries the cutback, and this is where the Mercedes runs a bit wide, picks up a bit of dirt, and there really wasn't more space for him to go. So, and the Porsche trying to go for a gap that didn't exist there, touched the dirt too, got a little bit of backwards action, and will pay the price in terms of damage, as we see a rejoin coming out the back of Chappell, and not going to be impressed with that at all, will the 899 of Conway.
Well, there's some days that I'm glad I'm in the booth with you guys and not in the steward's box that's adjacent to ours, and today is one of those days. Ryan Gill, how do you see that shaking out? Can we expect a penalty for the 18, or do you think that was fair?
No racing incidents. No, there's no penalty. No ways. You guys, if you guys think that that's a penalty, I
get where you're coming from, George, 100%. But I kind of think the moment you've gone off wide and you've gone on the gravel, you don't keep the throttle pinned. At least not in my mind, you don't. And I mean, it was obviously the rejoin where he touched the Porsche. That to me that's the way I've read it. I think it was a bit of a risky rejoin. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a penalty. Put it that way.
I mean, they were both running wide coming out through there. Both of them went onto the gravel, so technically
the
both
Porsche
of them
wasn't off the Mercedes was completely off the track.
It was off the track, but the Porsche also ran a little bit wide. So I feel like they both were pushing the limits, and
We'll see. We'll see what the stewards say, because
Yeah, I mean,
they'll
that's
have all the
fair.
angles. They'll
Now
have,
I
they'll
wish-
have all the angles.
I hope they take my side. I hope they take my side.
Now I wish I was in the other box all of a sudden. Either way, in chat, let us know.
This is George. Please take my side.
Let us know how you feel in the comments, or in the chat, I should say. Do you think the 18 was at fault there, or the Porsche that was chasing? How do you see it? We'll certainly get a ruling from the stewards and bring that to you as soon as possible. Speaking of stewards, Nico has handed me some slips of paper. A 5-second penalty for the 23, causing a collision with the 666. 15-second penalty for the 555, causing a collision with the 42. Now, those are all early lap incidences. A later incident in lap 6, turn 10, involving the 23 and the 21. 5-second penalty given to the 23 car, upgraded to a drive-through for his third 5-second penalty violation. So we have a thing where if you accrue too many time penalties, you start getting drive-throughs. Ryan, do you think that's fair?
I think that is fair. I think, if you're at the stage where, you're starting to accrue, was it 3 full-time penalties?
Yep.
At that stage in the race, you've obviously, if you're getting time penalties, you're being judged as the guilty party, and I think once you've got about 3 or 4 time penalties in a race, it probably is about time that a more severe penalty comes along if it hasn't been a drive-through at that point in time. Obviously, we only reserve drive-throughs and stop-and-goes for, very severe violations. But yeah, I think that's fair, and I do think it's fair that, after a couple of, or 3 or 4 time penalties of about 5-10 seconds, you probably should start looking at drive-through penalties, because at that point you're starting to affect a significant portion of the field, or particularly just one car's race.
Yeah, I think the stewards, the way that it's set up here at RCI, first of all, they do a fantastic job, and thank them for their taking time out of their Friday evening to come here and adjudicate our races. It makes it that much more realistic and much more fair and safe. And they have very, very plainly drawn out rules that if you go afoul of those, there are penalties, and the repercussions scale with, the amount of penalties you've accrued or the severity of the infraction. And I think that is absolutely fantastic. Now, is that Serafini behind the 7 now?
That is Felix.
Oh, so Felix, okay, the 675 has caught the 7 again. We saw this about 3 or 4 laps ago, but the 675 fell off the back, and now Slizik has the 675 of Felix behind him again, so we'll call this round 2 Electric Boogaloo. And I'll tell you something else. If anybody out there would like to ask the booth a question, it cannot guarantee that we'll answer your question, but you can hit the hashtag #AskTheBox in chat, and we will take a look at those and hopefully answer some of the questions that you have. Please keep it racing related and sort of things, and hopefully RCI racing related. So we're going to open up to hashtag #AskTheBox.
Are you saying you don't like it when people ask you non-sim racing related questions?
I
Jesse?
don't like it when people ask me questions that I'm not qualified to answer.
That's
I like
a fair
the
enough assessment.
professionalism. Yeah, I like the professionalism of Jesse Lee avoiding that question that Ryan was leading into, because I saw where it was going, and good deflection from Jesse to save
was like
us. Once again, shout outs. Hey, Jesse, can you just let me shout out to all of our viewers?
Please.
Thanks, guys, for joining us. And of course, this place wouldn't be what it is without you guys, and of course our drivers for participating. So if you haven't already left a little cheeky like on our stream, please could you do so and show your support wherever you can. Of course, follow us on all of our platforms. We've of course got the social medias all over the place. Twitter, a good place to engage with sim racing at the moment, and a very good place to find our Racing Club International social media team. And we highlight and bring you all the sort of updates as to what's coming. Join our Discord. Big shout out to our partners, RaceDepartment, AK Informatica, Raceface, Speedlads, and Next Level Racing for helping us do what we do out here and keeping things neat and tidy with, keeping us on our toes, making sure that we bring the professionalism out when we bring out the broadcast. And a big shout out to the likes of Ryan, of course, for doing the broadcast here and joining us for the commentary at the same time. My name is George Smith. I'm out here from South Africa. Of course, we got Jesse Lee out from the United States of America. And then Ryan doing things from the UK. So Racing Club International, definitely within the name, and a good place to be on a Friday night if you like some endurance racing. Two people teams sharing cars out here, and having to do the business with a shared card setup for 2 hours out on the dedicated circuits over the next a total round time of 8 weeks, and we're in round 5. So a couple of races still to go and plenty of Fridays to book up. So if you haven't marked it off on your calendar, please do so now. And handing you back over to Jesse in the commentary side. I've done all my plugs, Jesse. I'm done.
You missed a few, but we'll come back to them later. The saga continues, by the way, between the 23 car. I brought you the news that the 23 car and the 21 car had an incident, and that the 23 car had already had several 5-second penalties. Well, since we brought you that, the 23 has caused a collision with the 555. So that 5-second penalty was upgraded to a drive-through, which they already had 2 drive-throughs. So that upgraded to a stop-and-go 10. So that is a manual come into the pits, stop for 10 seconds, no service allowed on the vehicle. Since then, though, on lap 15 and turn 18 on lap 15, the 23 collided again with the 21 car. 15-second penalty awarded to the 23 for causing a collision. That was upgraded to a drive-through for hitting the threshold, which is upgraded to a stop-and-go 10 for the 3rd drive-through they have received, which was upgraded to a disqualification for receiving several stop-and-go penalties. So the 23 has been disqualified from this race, and I can honestly say, in all the races I've done here at RCI, I've never seen that happen before.
I think I have seen one driver disqualified before. No, actually 2. I have seen 2 live disqualifications before. But yeah, it's not a regular occurrence around here, and well, you've basically just summed up the entire reason why it happened, Jesse. So for anyone at home who was maybe a bit curious as to what exactly happened to the 23, well, there you go. Way too many penalties now. Yeah, he's unfortunately going to be picking up some license points as well for the championship. Could potentially affect him in terms of positions in the point standings come next week. We'll have to see. And, well, I am just thinking, if you have one bad day at a track like Silverstone, and you know that the next 3 rounds of the championship are Brands Hatch, Paul Ricard and Zolder, it's not looking good.
Yeah, I mean, I hate it for Quentin Vander Wingerden and Madzo. I do. I mean, it's so unlike them for that sort of thing to occur. And like you said, they were up near the top of the AM Championship. We talked about them in the pre-race when we showed the points. They were not far enough back to be considered out of it by any stretch. There was still a fight for the AM Championship win, and this is going to absolutely impact that. And one thing you can't deny, though, that is a serious amount of contacts and penalties to accrue. I mean, I hate to actually, that's a lie. I love to speculate. What could have caused them to accrue so many penalties? Just that many mental mistakes? Is that possible?
Yes. 100%. Like, people, once it goes, it goes bad, and then you've lost all your trust, your confidence, and you feel like you then making mistakes all the time, and you've got an eye of all the stewards then watching you permanently. You know that you're being watched out for, and yeah, you just can't handle the pressure, so it just keeps kind of amassing up. So shout out to the stewards for taking someone out of the race that was being a risk to others and compromising the racing conditions. I think, you either fit in or you have to find a place out. And unfortunately here, this is big changings for their team in the standings, for themselves. Personally, not a place that they would have wanted to find themselves. But just have a look at James Parker. Of course, a man of class, navigating through the field and getting the move done on that Chris Hay sim racing team.
That was
in the
crispy.
Porsche. It's all about just forcing those mistakes out, and those braking zones, definitely the places that you have to make up for it. It's not a place that you can really get enough space down any of the straights to get alongside and then pass someone. So it's generally get close enough, pull out into an alongside position and find a way into a braking zone. But there from the 44, just had the line advantage, and the Project Alien car looking to chase themselves up. And it is all really up to James a lot of the time. I'm not taking anything away from Andrzej Zdecek at all, but James does do a lot for their team to just make sure that he can put in that consistency that he does and just get themselves a little bit further up the order. They started so far down the field. Zdecek had a good stint. Parker now needs to have a good stint as well to complement it, and together they need to work together for it. Doesn't matter just having one good driver and someone else that's not going to step up their game to at least negate the gap to get up there. And that's what this whole project has been about. James Parker, of course, from the Coach Dave Academy, they spend a lot of time out in the cars, very experienced in the sim racing environment. To have him in the field of drivers, spending his Friday night out here driving with a teammate that he picked up to, spend some time out to get him better. That's what you need to understand about this gentleman. He's not just a good driver, but he's got the ambition to see the team grow. And I think the passion comes out when you do chat to him or you get to speak to him. And I think it needs to be highlighted more is these guys that, behind the scenes of things, yes, are out there putting in time and effort to try and improve the other people around him. There's no point in making a great pie and eating it by yourself. You want to make a great pie and share it with the world.
That's a lovely analogy. I mean, you're absolutely right. And think about Zdecek for a second. James Parker chose him as a teammate, said, yeah, we can get you on that alien pace. You're not far from it. We can get you on that alien pace. And to be completely fair with you and honest, when this championship started, we were unsure if Project Alien was going to be a success or not. We didn't know. We talked about it in the opening rounds. They're not showing quite the pace that we expected them to have. There's obviously, getting used to a new teammate, Zdecek and Parker trying to teach Zdecek everything he can as quickly as he can. And it's a trial by fire. These are live races. These races are for championship points and championships themselves. So, and keep in mind, these are not 30-minute races. These are 2-hour races. That's a big time that James Parker is using. It's just an honor to be a part of a team like that. I'm sure Zdecek knows that. And we eventually got our answer. We got our answer quicker than I thought we were going to. Has Project Alien worked? Yes, they won a race. They won a race overall earlier this season. So it has been a success. They both performed admirably. And I don't think they're done winning. They haven't had the race that they probably would have liked today, but I don't think that that's gonna.
It's not done yet, right, Jesse? Like things are, an hour left of racing, and still 2 mandatory stops for a lot of the field to serve. The proverbial fat lady hasn't sung yet, so for them to still come out and find some potential new positions. I know that for the likes of a lot of the drivers here, if you do start down the line, the goal of climbing through the order is such a cool achievement when you do finish things off. And these rounds you don't win anything physically at the end of a round. There's no prize money that you take home. It's all for the community side of knowing that when this championship wraps up, there's something to be said for claiming a championship amongst a field like this. So as things stand, we look at our silver leading driver or team from AOSP, the number 722 Aston Martin GT3, and Alan Serafini Danisi, currently behind the wheel, doing such a great job to keep themselves up towards the front. Of course, Slizek in that number 7 Bentley will be contesting for second place in silver, and Momin is the third place sitter on the podium for silver, in a field that is very much a kind of mixture of pros and silvers coming out here. And like I mentioned right at the start, always what I want to see is teams of drivers that are tiered lower, getting themselves into a position where they might find themselves applying to get into pro or get promoted up there via promotion at the end of the season. So Serafini Danisi doing a good job here as well, up towards the front, and a bunch of cars again going to enter into that pit strategy sort of window that Jesse likes to talk about, because after each pit stop gets served, it then creates a whole new mix-up of where you find yourself on track. Umar Zeman from the Multi 21, currently in 19th place and running out the bottom of the pro grid at the moment for the cars on track. So for him, some things to make up. Stefan Zero in front of him, Jesse. He's actually served another stop already.
Yeah, he has. And for Lubomir Zeman, it hasn't been the day that he wanted it to be, though I suspect some of it is not of his making. If you look at that car, it has been in the wars, and a couple of the penalty reports that have shown up today have included the 21, not by fault, but by them being on the receiving end of the incident. And if you look at that car, and this is the first good pictures that I've had of it myself, it is wearing on that car. So unluckily, that is not going to perform as well as some of the other vehicles. But here's Bart Matcha in the 404 Connection Lost team. We're going to see exactly why we're looking at this. Was it a pass? Yes, it was. Looks like James Parker. Is he going to thread the needle 3 wide here? I suspect he might. It's going to be 3 wide up the middle, and James Parker in between a lap car using him as a pick. Pass has absolutely been made, and Matcha's like, I hate it when he does that.
I'll tell you what, that's confidence, isn't it? That is confidence on another level that people like James Parker are just full of. And George, you touched on something amazing about James Parker earlier on, and being someone who's talked to him quite a bit over the last year or so, previously, I just, you said we need more people like him in the sim racing community, and I do definitely agree with that sentiment. But when you see moves like that coming off on a regular basis from people like James Parker, what is impressive anymore?
Yeah, Ryan, you've really touched on a great point there. I mean, I see James Parker do things like that, and you know what I instantly think in my head, Ryan?
What do you think?
I instantly think, how can Ryan Gill challenge this man to a race for money on the mark? That's what I think in my head.
I knew that was coming.
Oh, no.
But George, what are you talking about?
In my defense,
Haynes gonna peel into the pits there just to update everybody. So Parker gonna get promoted up to 4th before Ryan explains how he lost to the man that we currently look at on the screen.
In my defense,
no.
James Parker said.
Story.
James Parker said to me that he could beat me in a race without having to practice at Kyalami. I took him up on the offer in the deal that if I won the race, he would give me 10 quid. 10 pounds, for those of you that don't understand what that means. And to put it bluntly, I may have been lapped in the race. It might have happened. To be fair, the field I was racing in also contained the likes of Paolo Muya, Amir Hosseini, Dennis Lind, Kelvin van der Linde, Jordan Pepper. So it wasn't exactly as if I was in a bad field.
Did they all lap you, or
I actually beat James? Jordan Pepper, I'll have you know.
Okay, you beat Jordan Pepper. Good South African
For the record,
racer
For the record, Jordan Pepper got his sim rig an hour and a half before the green flag drop, Ryan. So let's,
He is also a professional racing car driver, though, so I'll take that any day of the week. But back to the action. Mikael Sundström finds himself under pressure from Jordan Grant-Smith. And if the name Jordan Grant-Smith rings a bell with a couple of you guys around here, that maybe you haven't seen the Endurance Championship races previously, he was actually one of the drivers, George, that participated in the final of the G2 Esports series we covered last week.
Indeed he was. So one of the quick drivers out there, and currently trying to find something a little bit different. Of course, the G2 series, what a cool series that was. A little mixture of little 20-minute sprint races in the, of course, the BMW sponsored event. So we were out in the M6 and the M4s for the duration of the series. But yeah, what a cool series to see out there, and good to see some of the drivers that participate out in RCI events, out in, you know, the esports events being thrown out where we're involved in doing things as well. So always cool to have the community following through. Jordan Grant Smith into Vale Chicane here, looking to see something on the back of Mikael Sandstrom, and it is going to be a bit of a danger zone. Big braking point missed out from that Bentley behind. Good job for him to always pull out to the side of the track where none of the traffic is going. Never aim for the apex is always the goal. If you're watching one of these for the first time, you make a mistake, don't aim for cars, it always ends badly. But a nice little battle coming out. That 675 Aston Martin, of course, one of the color schemes that I do like out, and actually all of these cars have a color scheme that kind of appeals to me. Sandstrom's and the 899 Audi, that gold and white, that splashes out. And of course, Jordan Grant Smith's black and teal Porsche. Bit of a Porsche fanboy, so I'm looking forward to seeing if the Porsche has what it has to come up. We saw the practice side, we saw the qualifying side, we saw how things have changed up the manufacturers in the race. Definitely not what we saw during the practice sessions. Jordan Grant Smith all over the back of Mikael Sandstrom as they come out through Woodcote, make the run down to Cops here. And it is going to be a time that Jordan Grant Smith can't have a look just yet. The Audi wins this one out, and we'll need to see what he can do out of the exit of Chapel. So got to go through Maggots and Beckett's first. Got to keep that car in a position that you can maybe have a move. Some dust getting kicked up from Sundstrom's car as he finds that inside apex. And onto the hangar straight they go, and into the slip the Porsche sits. One of the cars that has had a BOP change from the developers. So Ryan, before I hand over again to you, I just want to touch on Barazzini's performance so far. Of course, with his teammates up there. Fulvio Barazzini currently in that number 126 Orion race team. Mercedes, they've just been having the race that they wanted to have. Jesse, you were the one that said that, are they going to run away with things? And they maybe heard you and said, yes, we are.
I think I called it right when Jesse asked me what's going to be the plan for the 126, which is if they lead into the first corner at the end of the first lap, they were going to run away with it. As Cody Blanton, close to the back of Martin Lawrence, doesn't quite make contact with the Audi, and now he's got Michael Muthen right on his tail. And yeah, the Ryan race team, Jesse, just kind of doing what they do best, which is get out in front and start to lead the way. And of course they're on a big high right now, aren't they? Because it was just 2 weeks ago that they took victory at the RCI 12 Hours of Bathurst in the Pro Class. That victory in the RCI endurance races, which has eluded them at both the 6 Hours of Barcelona and the 3 Hours of Nürburgring.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to interview those guys post-race after they had just won that grueling 12-hour race on the mountain, and they all said the same thing. They said the same thing that we were saying in the booth. Finally. It's like, you guys have finally done it, and they were just a mixture of tired and so relieved and elated. We always knew that they had it in them, but they needed to apply themselves and apply everything that we see in them in a 12-hour race, which is harder than it sounds. And they were able to triumph in the biggest race that we had ever put on. That was such a big win for them. They're such a talented team, the Orion Racing guys are. They're so good. And I urge them to get more of their guys into ACC and get them over here at RCI TV, because they're just so, they're very professional. They race hard and they love doing it. And they're not afraid to talk to you about it as well. A lot of drivers, they're very quiet about how they go about their business, but Barazzini and all those guys, they love to talk racing. They love to be in everything they possibly can. So it was nice to see them get involved. I want to go back to that issue, or that nearly incident earlier with Blanton and Lawrence there. That was well held by Blanton. Blanton could have easily just stacked up Lawrence and caused a big incident there. Instead, Blanton hits the abort button, goes wide, comes under attack from Muthen, but nothing really happens there. And it all goes back to normal. And as you see Blanton re-catching Lawrence, I haven't seen Blanton up this far into the field in quite some time. I'm usually used to seeing him challenge for wins. Certainly he was a night owl favorite for quite some time, but he is sort of been hanging around in this championship. It's nice to see that number 9 car running incredibly well, looking like he's going to be able to challenge Lawrence for 3rd place. But Dedicek back in the car. All the cars here have served their 2nd pit stop, 1 remaining in this race. And you see Egger back in the car for Berrezzini now. Rommel, Lawrence, and Blanton. We're looking at Cody Blanton back at Michael Muthen. Muthen taking a few stabs at him. The 18's had a great day, but he's certainly been in amongst some chaos today. I think you could say that about a lot of guys.
It's been eventful.
The car behind him. It's been eventful. That's a nice way of putting it. Dedicek behind him, where if we go to the bumper cam, you'll see that Dedicek is right behind Muthen right now, which is who we are riding on board with. But it's been a fantastic day for a lot of people that need to have great days. It's also been disappointing for some people who are hoping to confirm a challenge. Just want to go ahead and give a couple of things. Thank you, first of all, to you guys out in chat today. Thank you guys for showing up and showing out as you always do, keeping us entertained. And we love hearing what you guys have to think or have to say about some of the sort of adventures, I should say, that are going on in the race today. I also like to thank our partners here at RCI, Race Department, AK Informatica, Race Face, and Next Level Racing for every single thing that they do for us. I'd also like to invite you guys to leave a like and subscribe. We're going to 1.5K subs, and that may sound like very few, but to us, it is an absolute ton. And of course, thank you to our stewards, all of our race stewards out there, Mr. Ryan Gill working the cameras, talking to us, and the one, the only G-Max George Smith here all the way from South Africa, where they don't do daylight savings time. I just noticed. I've just heard earlier. It's fantastic stuff. I don't think we really need daylight savings time anyway, but thank all of you for being here with us today, and we hope that you enjoyed the final 50 minutes of this race. Ryan, I'm going to ask, where do you go from here? Obviously, if you're Matthias Egger, you don't do anything different because you guys are in command of this race. But if you're Dedicek, if you're Project Alien, if you're Cody Blanton, you got to push now, right?
Well, you definitely have to, as Muthen makes a mistake coming into Vale. And, you know, what we're looking at here, it doesn't look like much. It kind of looks like a stalemate right now, and it definitely feels like that. But look at the timing board. Martin Lawrence, Cody Blanton, Michael Muthen, Ondrej Dedicek. These 4 cars are all competing for that final spot on the podium. You know, this is a pretty significant battle for these 4 cars, and it's going to be a lot more significant for Muthen if Ondrej Dedicek can find his way past. And one of the big things to take into account here, guys, is that Ondrej Dedicek, well, the Project Alien Aston Martin, to be more specific, is 2nd in the championship. The championship leaders are in 9th. 3rd place in the championship, the Team Fordzilla are not present tonight. The Orion race team, 4th in the championship, are out in front leading. It's going to be all sorts of... I mean, you said Hungaroring turned the table upside down a bit, and, you know, I think Silverstone is going to be like that as well. I'm not entirely sure who's going to lead the championship come the end of this race, because I don't know what the top 5 is going to look like at the end of this race, and that's going to have a heavy impact on what the final standings look like going into round 6 at Brands Hatch. And taking into account that the next round is Brands Hatch, as I think someone's just got off onto the dirt a bit there. I think it might have been one of the lap cars. You know, we're going to be going into Brands Hatch for round 6. Is this really where you'd want to be? Would you really want to be going into Brands Hatch knowing you're going to be outside of the top 4 in the championship? You know, going into a track that a lot of people are going to struggle with, and overtaking is going to be challenging, should we say?
Yeah, I personally wouldn't even want to be going into Brands Hatch. It's not one of my favorite tracks on the circuit calendar at all. And Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. It's not an easy place to make up moves, and if you are against a field that doesn't make mistakes, it can almost be a race where you qualify, it ends up where you finish if people don't make those mistakes coming out or the pit stop strategies working out. So Blanton all over the back of Lawrence now, and there's little tap coming in, a little bit of push to pass coming down, makes a little bit of a side contact coming down into Village. Not going to be happy with that is Lawrence. Goes around, does try to come, maybe not enough space given by either car. It did look like the number 9 of Blanton was in control of where he needed to go. So not going to make the ruling on that. But what a field of drivers it has been. And, you kind of chatted about it, that Orion race team up towards the front. As we watch this on-track battle, they've just had such a phenomenal race. They're almost 45 seconds ahead of second place at this stage. And the likes of Matthias Sega, he's piloting the car. He came second in the Lamborghini Esports championship that took place, the official one out there. So, these are some prestigious names and drivers that get to come and feature out here, and they give us these on-track battles that make it so interesting to have these series broadcast and commentated. So without the drivers, this kind of thing would not be possible. So massive shout out to them and their teammates for coming out, sticking out for a 2-hour endurance series and putting this kind of thing onto the field. Backmarkers are going to get into the action as well, I'm sure, as these drivers all right now do not have the ability to lose anything out on the circuit. It's pin perfect laps that are required to make the moves happen. And right now, Blanton again on the back of Lawrence. Back markers, are they going to move out the way? They will maybe do so, coming down into Vale, giving some space down. 1, 2, 3 cars will come through. Dedicek also involved in this. So Dedicek gets through as well. Nice work from our back marker to let these 4 cars get by and let us have, look at that view. I'm excited. I love this. I wish that I could scream and shout, but the neighbors would probably think I'm a little bit mad, at this stage of the race. But, this is what you want to see. 45 minutes left to go. GT3 racing, a pit stop still to be served. This is what we signed up for, boys. This is what we wanted coming into the closing minutes. And for 45 minutes, I hope to see these 4 strike it out, as well as the rest of the field. There's still an ability for everybody to change up positions.
This is chaos personified, and this is indeed, I could not have said it better myself. This is why I love GT racing. And if you are Dedicek in that number 44 Aston Martin and the Dayglow green or yellow, depending on what country you're from, you most importantly right here can see 3rd place. You may be 6th on the running order, but you can see 3rd. And for Dedicek, that team, and Parker, that is everything right now. That means that you could potentially salvage a day where you got a penalty, you weren't in the top 5, to come home 3rd. They might as well have won the race in their opinion, because that is how big this is going to feel if they can get by all these cars. Still a lot of work to do. 45 or 44, I should say, minutes to go in this race. Everything to play for all of these drivers. That's on board Dedicek. They're going to be side by side in front of them. That's going to be Blanton and Muthen who are going to go side by side. Can Blanton make the inside work here? Can he? Yes, he. No, he can't. They're still going to be side by side going down into the chicane. It's going to be Muthen with the advantage on the inside, but that's going to flip to Blanton. There's going to be another little touch between the two. Can the kink here do anything for Blanton to make sure that he can get free? No, he cannot. They're still side by side. Dedicek working behind, going down into this turn, which is normally turn 1, but isn't. And that is going to be that. But here comes Dedicek. Dedicek trying to go around the outside before they get to the hard right-hander and the left-hander. Can he do it? No, they can't. They'll have to cycle through. But position gain, 4th place for Blanton.
Blanton is not willing to not give up positions, and he's looking to hunt down. He wants to be up in the order. He wants to chase down Michael Muthen. Needs to be careful of the attack from Dedicek. Dedicek, of course, we talked about it before, has been trained up by James, has James in his ear probably, giving him all the tips and tricks that he needs. So he has all the assets at his disposal to make this move work out. Cody Blanton, having gotten past Muthen, gonna try and still just, chase down on the likes of Lawrence. He needs to try and find some time. There's still potentially a chance to get up into the podium positions. I think that's what's important for these guys, is that if they, continue to fight it out, they're not going to be able to catch up and get onto it. But Cody Blanton, if he doesn't really, care for the drivers behind him and manages to put some space between, not gonna, do so, wrestling out through the curbs like that. Some of those anti-cuts gonna unsettle him a bit, and just look how much damage it's done for the hanger straight. Cody Blanton bleeding top speed coming down. Gonna make sure that he tries to carry as much speed down towards Vale as he can. Does keep Muthen behind him out through Stone. This is all the defensive lines that Blanton now needs to use, but it is going to impact that lead down. And look at Dedicek. He sees this. Michael Muthen wanting to get aggressive, wanting to see if he can squeeze that place away from Blanton. Is going to have Dedicek looking to put his nose on the inside every time. So that outside line, going to have to get used to it. Going to have to find some new grip levels. Going to have to get some really big boy pants on, because at the end of the day, when you're sticking moves out here, one small costly mistake can be critical. And I think that's what it's always so hard to convey to the viewers, is just how close these guys are actually racing. And we jump on board with Dedicek's Project Alien number 44. And what a great race that they have had, considering they didn't have the qualifying that they needed, Jesse. This is the race that they wanted to have. In the battles, constantly moving up and having a chance to always improve on where they started from. And when they take that home at the end of the day, it's all, we started at the bottom of this mountain, this is where we ended up. And right now, I don't think they've hit the peak just yet.
No, they haven't. I'll be the first to admit I didn't expect this to happen. I didn't expect the 9, the 44, or even the 42 to be able to rebound to where they are. I didn't expect them to be able to come back. Then again, that's my fault. I underestimated these great race car drivers, and that's on me. But it has been absolutely epic to watch this go down. And I just keep waiting for this guy, Andre Dedicek. I keep waiting for him to make a pass. Ryan, I'm going to ask you, do you think he is just trying to keep the nose clean of the car? Because I don't think this is his ultimate pace. What do you think?
I think that Ondrej Dedicek is playing the safe game here. I think, like George said, he's got James Parker in his head telling him what he needs to do. And I think the message from James Parker right now is going to be, look, you've got the pace to go with these guys. If an opportunity comes your way, you take it. If it doesn't, just hold back, wait and see what happens. And I think it's going to come down to the final stint here as we close into the last 40 minutes of the race. I mean, James Parker's going to be jumping in this car relatively soon. And, I don't think I'm stretching any boundaries by saying he's probably going to be the quicker of the 4 drivers out on track of this little chain of 4 that we have here for P3. And I think that's the game at the moment for Ondrej Dedicek. It's keep yourself in the race. Keep yourself within touching distance. A podium is possible here for the Project Alien car, but they have to play it careful. They can't go for any silly maneuvers, especially because they're the ones at the back of this train.
Ryan, I think you've literally nailed exactly what Dedicek has to do here. They do have that driver swap in hand. They know that they can park into the car, and they know that he will be able to do what people wouldn't expect people to do in situations where the pressure is up there. Dedicek's been handling it great. He's kept the car up in a competitive spot. I mean, he's got these guys in front. He's got the option to also undercut where he comes into the next pit stop strategy. So if Blanton and Muthen do get caught up doing anything, then he's got that opportunity. I think at this stage, it wouldn't harm him perhaps coming in if he can't get past Muthen in the next couple of laps, because at this stage, the number 18 is almost holding Dedicek up. Although he is playing in for the long game, you do see that it's, Dedicek is very much in control of following on that Mercedes. You can see when a driver's in trouble, and you can see when a driver's pretty cool, calm, and collected, and that's what it feels like from Dedicek at the moment. He's just waiting. If the 18 makes a mistake like that, big slideys coming out from Stowe, and that's where the tires are starting to reach that point where they may be starting to let go. You've been pushing throughout, and down through Vale keeps that car length gap just there. So I think it's going well for Dedicek. I think towards the front, I think Rommel in a good position to, keep that number 137 up towards the front. Lawrence also, again, not too much trouble from Blanton, as he has got away from Muthen, but hasn't then become a troubling spot. So that 4-car battle may be, slowing down a little bit, as these two now become the two that really have to kind of keep those positions between them. And it's that sacrifice that you make. The position in front, yes, it's important, but losing a position, even worse. So focus on one thing at a time, pit stop in hand, and what a race, what a treat coming in for round 5.
Absolutely amazing stuff. You know, it isn't amazing penalties, but Nico's got us because we have a few. I will say it has slowed down. These are actually penalties from the previous pit stop, so that's why you're not seeing them on the board. There's a 15-second penalty given to the 666 for contact with the 224. Drive-through penalty for the 34, causing an incident with the 86. And just recently, you saw the battle between the 404 and the 9. Cody Blanton was issued a warning for causing a sort of minor collision that did not warrant a penalty. And guys, remember way back in the middle of the race, we saw the contact between the Porsche and the number 18 car of Muthen. Well, that doesn't show up on my penalty report, so I am going to have to say that based on the fact that they didn't report it, is that it was either no further action or something like that. So for those of you at home earlier in the race that said that the 18 was not at fault, as it turns out, nobody was at fault. So we all win in that case, unless you were vying for a penalty, in which case you've been outvoted, I'm afraid.
I'm actually not sad on that ruling. I think it's a very fair ruling to come out. I felt like that was the right decision to make out, and it has allowed the likes of Muthen to... Sorry, was it Muthen that was involved in it?
It was Muthen,
yeah.
And the 121, was it?
Yeah,
Grant Smith,
Grant Smith, yeah, you're right. So it has allowed them to continue. Grant Smith obviously trying to make his way back through the field after that incident, so he's caught up behind the current race leader for Silver, which is Hauer. So things have changed up there quite a bit coming out, but Grant Smith trying to get his way back up and through the order. Michael Muthen, I think, definitely can be applauded for the defensive work that he has done, because Dedicek, if he is quicker, hasn't been able to really flex those heels just yet. Has to almost just settle in, and maybe that's the choice. Like I said earlier on, maybe this is what they want to play, and that's all the strategy that comes out. But it's down to the closing minutes that things start to get exciting. The final 10 minutes are really the dash down if you do have gaps like this. So, with 30 minutes to go, already having cars all in sight of one another on circuit, until the pit stop just doesn't want to come out my mouth tonight. But the pit stop's still to be served in, nice little reshuffle to the potential order shifts. And this is where, as a driver, if you have, got a little bit of breathing room, you're making sure that you've cycled through that MFD, made sure that you've precisely selected everything that you want to select, to make sure that you don't come in and suddenly find yourself switching out the brakes and finding yourself tumbling down those positions. But yeah, this little battle coming out is still, just a little bit on ice, just waiting it out, just trying to see out through Vale. Once again, there you go. Dedicek still just holds on to the back. And right, could we just get maybe a full cycle through our entire field that Jesse could just take us through, see where everybody sits, see their cars, maybe just before the pit stops come through?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is your leader. We have not seen him since the drop of the green flag, but this is Orion Race Team, number 126 Mercedes. Matthias Egger is teamed up with Berrezzini, and this Egger in the car right now. They are way up the field, and we have not seen a lot of their blue and white Mercedes, but there they are. They have this race well in hand, and barring some heinous miscalculation or unwarranted exit, I think that they are on their way to another victory here today. Second place has been just as quiet. Lucas Rommel in the 137 out here, just getting it done in that white and purple car. They look like they have had contact with something, otherwise that may be dirt on the car. I cannot see from my vantage point. particularly well, but Lucas Rommel has done a fantastic job. They qualified darn decently today, and the 137 going well. But in third place, Martin Lawrence in the 404 Audi. Well, that is where things get interesting indeed. Connection Lost Racing here, who is being hounded by Cody Blanton in fourth place. All of these cars coming into picture here. Of course, Michael Muthen as well. Of course, he is right now in front of Dedicek. Muthen, the last car inside the top 5. Dedicek would love to be inside the top 5, but he's inside pit road. He is one of the first takers with Zero and Lima to get their pit stop underway, and they will be one of the first people with new tires. I like that strategy. I like it. You're stuck behind a car. You're going to get James Parker back into the car if you are the Project Alien team. And of course, Andre Felix here in the 675 gets back on board his car. And of course, here is James Parker in the Project Alien 44 Aston Martin. They are down and gone. Their placard that was an amber number 1 has turned green, meaning that they have met all the requirements of the pit stops in this race, and they are good to go to the finish. And of course, with 31 and a half minutes left, they can indeed make the finish. Other drivers that would be in the top 10, but because the running order is jumbled up, Rupert in the number 16 Audi. They've been sort of quietly hanging out inside the top 10. Haven't had too much issue. The Team Greenlight guys have been doing incredibly well. And of course, Grant Smith in the 121 Porsche, currently 7th. They have had a pretty nice day for Chris Hay Sim Racing. Excellent to see them inside the top 10 as well. Of course, 9th place currently is Mikhail Sundstrom in that 899 Audi. What a lovely day. Hasn't all been clean sailing. They've been ran into a few times today. The nearly on-pace Triple R sort of joint affair, but they are hanging in there and look like they could potentially have a top 10 day. Svenchek in the number 7 Bentley has retaken the lead in silver class, but that is by virtue of Serafini Danesi coming in to complete their final pit stop. This team is likely going to be second in silver today. They have fallen off a little bit after showing incredible speed up inside the top 5 early in this race. They've not been able to recapture that, and Svenchek is just hoping that he can gain several seconds to get back into the fight. Alistair Gillies currently scored inside the top 10, though he is in pit road in the 166 Technic Motorsports Porsche. And he will get his service and be down and gone here just in a moment. Of course, James Parker, we talked about, has pitted, and Rowert in the 888 Mercedes. He is down here trying to get his final service underway. He's going to likely be your 3rd place in silver today, though he may challenge for more coming up here at the end of this race. Martin Schumacher in 13th place. Here a lot of people talk about him and say, well, there's an M. Schumacher in the race. Who is he? Well, that's Martin Schumacher, no relation to the F1 racing family, but he is just as quick, I can promise you, driving number 42, GC Racing number 1 team. But they have had a day and a half here, all the way back in 11th place, though they will likely make up some of those spots here in just a moment. In fact, that's Woolmuth right in front of them in the number 16 Audi. Of course, the rest of your field, as we talked about, there they are still running around. Some of these mini laps off the pace, 2 to 3 laps. But one other car I will mention is the 722 of Serafini Danesi, who is likely going to retake the lead for silver at the conclusion of pit stops. Of course, Svenchek has yet to pit.
What a great looking at the order indeed. And, you know, Jesse, the racing still going to give us a little bit more as all these pit stops start to take effect. We get to see some onboard shots as our number 42 of Martin Schumacher does try and make his way up through the field as much as he can. Does have the likes of Maximilian Woolmuth in between himself. James Parker back in the Project Alien car. All mandatory stops have been served. Our wonderful viewers have asked us a couple of questions using that hashtag Ask the Box question. And Jesse, they want to know, well, it's actually British GT fan wants to know, what the best sounding car on the grid is. The sounding car and the perfect track to go with it.
This is the point where we start arguing with one another.
Let's do it.
No, because
27 and a
it's
half
quite-
minutes. Let's do it.
I mean, we're gonna watch James Parker do his magic, so we're gonna get interrupted by it, but it's quite easy. It's
The V12 Aston.
the
Simple.
V12 Aston.
V12 Aston
the
at
V-
Brands Hatch. It just is.
Not Brands Hatch.
well, it might not be at Brands Hatch this week. It'll be at Brands Hatch next week, but right here at Silverstone, Ismail Lebrec is going to have a move.
He really is trying to see if he can find something through here. Matcha is going to be bullied out. It's going to be a 2-for-1 special as Parker also slips through. Like we said, those defensive moves, sometimes you have to make a cars with space, and there's sometimes a slinky little number 44 Aston Martin in the Dayglow colors to make up for, time lost out there. And it will be James now to chase down Ismail Lebrec, and this is a little treat for the viewers indeed. What a talented driver lineup to face each other down in the last 26 minutes out on circuit. And it's going to be interesting to see what the number 9 Ferrari piloted by Lebrec can do up against that number 44 with James Parker behind the wheel. What a treat to see. So we've agreed it's the V12 Aston Martin pretty much at any track if you just want soundtrack.
Yes.
But if you want a biased opinion, the Porsche also sounds good. I like how it winds when it gets into sixth gear, like Call of Duty players on Twitter.
This is where we disagree.
Ryan hates Porsches because
No, I do not hate Porsches.
You hate the sound. You hate the sound.
I don't like the sound of them. The Porsche Cup particularly, I despise. That whine when it gets into a high gear.
Can we just ban you from even being able to cast Porsche Cup things as well? Because you're not allowed to. It's beautiful racing. It's beautiful cars. It's beautiful machinery. And Ryan, just don't smack talk it.
George,
it's
the
good.
Porsche Cup.
Oh, James though.
The Porsche Cup.
We can't even argue because James is just making this so tight. He's literally all over the back of Lebrec. Sorry, like he's. This is the pressure you want. Can we get some splitter cam from Parker? Even some splitter. I want to see. This is Stowe around the outside. We go. Do we tuck round? This is the pressure zone. They give each other the room that they need. Lebrec gonna stay on the inside. Wide goes the Aston Martin. Gonna cut back in because Lebrec wants the inside line. Darts back in. Does Parker has the ability to do so, but it won't be where he can. Lebrec manages to hold off by forcing Parker off wide. And you know what? That's exactly what you have to do to stay defensive at times like this when you've got the pressure on the back of you. And Parker is going to be putting this show on for us as viewers. This is why I said this is a treat. This is what we want to see. This
Happy
is what
Halloween.
gets me excited. Happy Halloween.
I'm going to tell you something. This is absolutely fantastic. The 44 of James Parker has a green light for Project Alien, and he's Duran. He is hungry like the wolf. He wants these positions. He can get this. He can get to third place. It is all to play for. This man has been taken off the leash, Ryan.
He has, but he's got Ismail Lebrec to get past, and, well, Ismail Lebrec is no man to scoff at either. He's got plenty of pace in him, usually is seen in the other Italian manufacturer that we are quite commonly known for associating as one of the best sounding cars on the grid. Don't at me, George Smith. But he's not in a Lamborghini for this series. He's sharing the Ferrari with the likes of Cody Blanton. But it's going to be difficult for Ismail Lebrec here. He's got 23 or just under 24 minutes to hold off James Parker, but he's lost it. Coming through the first corner, and that's going to allow Michael Muthen through as well.
Oh, I'd quite like to see that again, if that's at all possible. Yeah, here we go. Just going to see the 9 car here exiting, and we're going to see exactly what happened here. We've seen this several times today of a car just absolutely losing it. You see the 44 there pictured, who is chasing. The pressure has to be palpable at this point. Just gets too much curb, Ryan. 44 has to take evasive action.
Yep, just too much curb. Didn't work out well, and, well, there goes Ismail Lebrec's chances of a podium, I would say. Puts him significantly back to the likes of the number 18 of Mark Haynes, who has now taken over that car from Michael Muthen. Oh! And there's been contact there.
We might need to get a little another replay coming down.
What happened
to see
here?
what's taken down. Muthen's Mercedes coming down into Stowe.
This was from
Was
a
he just-
long way back.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay, so let's just see. I mean, he's far down. The Audi up in front.
Oh,
Bit of a... I see.
Single car
Audi on its
spin.
own.
So,
Two
literally in the
mistakes.
space of 2 laps, big mistakes coming out, the
Same
pressure
lap.
up at the front. Yeah,
Same lap.
Same lap. Ryan's commentator's curse on Ismail Lebrec will not be
Whoa.
lived down in
Oh, yeah, there it
the
is.
post-race Discord
Whoa.
chats either, because
There it is.
they are big fans of one another, and unfortunately, Rai sometimes you commentate curse on one of your favorite drivers, and
Okay,
happens.
let's not apportion blame here.
No, Ryan,
JC?
no, George, he's right. I agree. And don't let Ishmael Lebrec know that you can catch Ryan in the parking lot after this race. He drives a tiny blue Vauxhall. Don't tell him that.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna be on the motorway down to Brands Hatch before Ismail Lebrec gets a chance to park his car tonight.
3rd place for James Parker, though, Ryan. So without you having to escape from Ismail Lebrec, I mean, James Parker up onto the podium for their Project Alien number 44. And with all pit stops sort of served out here, Ismail Lebrec going to be having to try and make up positions, try and get past the likes of Matcha in the number 404. And the pressure definitely back on once again, immediately from Lebrec. So we saw him have the pace out. He was giving the likes of Parker a run out. So, he's got the pace to do what he needs to do. Can't afford to make mistakes and cannot afford to take any of those big curbs. He clips it again coming into Vale. So again, a little bit mentally rattled is Lebrec perhaps in that number 9. He needs to just find that pace that we know that he has and try and make his way back up. But it has promoted the likes of Haynes in the number 18 and Matcha, of course, in that 404 to put themselves in a good position with 20 minutes left to go of racing.
Bart Matcha is a very nice guy, but I don't think Bart Matcha intentionally spun his car around just so he could have a battle with Ismail Lebrec. And Bart Matcha's not going to be enjoying this because he would have rather been looking forward to the fact that, he could be looking at, maybe 4th place, definitely a top 5 come the end of this race. But the way it's looking at the moment with that Ferrari all over the back of the Audi, I don't think the 404 car is going to find itself in the top 5 for too much longer. But like you said, George, Project Alien Aston Martin into the top 3. It'll be another podium for that car out there, and I think, we, like Jesse said, we had our doubts about, if the Project Alien would even work over the course of the season. They went and won a race and kind of proved that the concept is there they can execute it. But can they go all the way? Can they win a championship and prove that they can do it?
This position that they finish in here is definitely going to put them up towards the front end of it for sure. They've got a Ryan Race team in 4th place. In terms of points, they're on 172 points with Project Alien up on 187, which is just behind GC Racing's number 42, who we've seen just not have the race that they needed to have. So they've not been in this Silverstone round. So, you got to ask yourself, I think the Project Alien car is going to go up into 1st place, even if they take home the likes of, a 3rd place finish here. So looking good for them if this is what the intention's been, and a successful project will be wrapping up a championship. But with the rounds to come and the circuits on board, of course, the likes of, what did you say? It was Brands Hatch, Zolder, and...
It is Brands Hatch, Paul Ricard, and Zolder.
So definitely, that Porsche running on the dangerous side of things. Olefen at 166. Of course, a pro driver caught up behind the likes of one of the silver drivers, Alan Serafini Denisi, who JC predicted was going to take over the lead of the race. But I see the prediction game not working out 100% right, is just behind Slizik. So Slizik in that number 7 made their pit stop workout just right. So good battles across the field. The silver drivers, 1st and 2nd separated by 7 tenths. And then in the middle of the pack here, the likes of Lebrec He's 2/10 behind Macha. Both of them running wide. Going to have to go very wide as Ismail Lebrec to regain the position. Needs to be careful of what the game might give him in terms of potentially a track cut. Couldn't do much. What's an avoiding move? And I mean, that's
save. Look at that save.
I was going to say Bart
big
Matcha
save.
with that
Both
save.
of them. Big save, big, I mean, this is why you're in the pro tier, right? The big save comes in. Lebrec immediately reacts, sees he has to go very wide, can use the entire runoff there. And, I mean, I don't think the stewards are going to be looking into that, saying, you know, you need to hand a position back. Clear loss of control came out from Matcha, and that's I mean, avoidance and a little cheeky pass whilst doing so. There's nothing better.
Fine.
Maybe
Jesse,
some champagne at the end.
Jesse, what is my favorite, most underrated skill in sim racing?
Not crashing.
I mean, I was looking for the word perception, but that works as well.
We have the same saying in my culture. We just say it differently.
Yeah. Your ability to perceive an accident in front of you, react in split seconds to avoid it. Such an important skill in sim racing, even in real life racing as well. And it doesn't get highlighted enough, I feel. You know, when you have a lot of these, driver coaching services and stuff, like Raceface Speed Labs, which you can use code RCI coaching to save on a Raceface Speed Lab session if you want to be as quick as some of the guys out here tonight. But, you know, they talk about, you know, braking and acceleration, how to nail your apexes and all sorts of stuff. I've never seen anyone talk about perception and how you can train someone to be better at reacting to something in front of them. And
driving's mental, Ryan. You're absolutely right. Driving is mental, regardless of what people think. That is the game. The game is 100% mental. Getting your braking point right, and to add on to that, perception's huge. You're absolutely right. I talked to you as a driver before, and you said that one of the things that you think you have that a lot of other people don't is excellent perception. And based on the fact that I've seen your streams before, and I've been with you whenever you decided to not have a crash when a crash was imminent, I agree. It's absolutely underrated.
definitely.
This is arguably the weirdest color scheme Ferrari that's out there.
What do you mean?
It's got the not Ferrari yellow, Dayglow Ferrari yellow accents to it, so it kind of like plays with your eyes.
Can I just love the Jesse Lee? What about it?
Yeah,
like the confusion in the voice.
Looks normal to me.
I mean, it's definitely not normal. It's kind of strange. Oh, getting robbed out there by the number 44. Not on. That's James Parker getting through, so not really robbed out. Number 99 doing well to make some space because he's got the likes of Carl Mathis racing him for that 15th spot that he holds down. So does well to let by the cars in front as the blue flags wave, but doesn't want to yield out because he doesn't want to lose out to that number 86 Porsche behind him. And as they make their way out through Le Field, it's all going to be down to those last 15 minutes now, 14 minutes on the clock, in fact. And the push for the drivers that are these couple of tenths behind cars on track, this is where the focus needs to come in. You've raced out here for the last hour and 45 minutes. This is where it all now needs to count. To finish first, you first have to finish, right? And, you know, for some of these guys, this is the battle for them is a battle for like what it would be like in first and second. It doesn't matter what the overall position is. The mentality of the drivers is all still there, and Dustin Vust is going to have to stay as defensive as he can. What a manufacturer shootout we see. And the Porsche of Mathis going to be trying to put Vust off at any stage that he can as they make that run down the hanger straight into Stowe. Doesn't look like Mathis quite knows where he can get by Vust, and Dustin Vust, a very experienced driver out there, and a lot of respect into what the Vust brothers do. They know how to pedal a car around a circuit, and they're looking good here to keep themselves in the top 15. Unless Carl Mathis from the Borderless Racing team has anything else to say about it, Jesse.
Yeah, I mean, this is certainly one of those things where you have to keep your head on your shoulders. The Worst brothers, one of my favorite pairs. We have so many pairs of siblings in RCI. It's absolutely astounding. I didn't realize that was ever a thing until I started casting here. So it's really cool to see that. But Mathis doesn't really care about any of that. He wants to get this position. Top 15 sounds a lot better than 16th place, as it always will do. So Borderless Racing in the 86 is doing the best that they possibly can here. And of course, this may be for the back of the AM, or back of Pro, I should say, a bit of squirrely on both sides, and nothing comes of it, but it looked there for a second. Oh yeah, Dustin Worst just getting all sorts of Ken Blocky into that corner. Doesn't quite come off, but is able to save the car and maintains the position. Hey, if you're gonna half spin your car out, you might as well do it on the racing line so they can't get by you. That is a pro top tip from me and Dustin Worst right there.
We've got Matthias Egger in the chats, just to let you know. Like you said, a little bit of a fanboy coming out, knowing how well he did in that Lamborghini Esports series that he did, and of course getting that experience out with Lamborghini. I think that must have been such a cool thing. It's always cool to see what sim racing brings to people, the opportunities that come out, and of course it all comes down to the back end and the community that's gone out during the entire period where sim racing's had the ability to boom, to come out and be able to stick together and give people something to work together towards. I think I speak for a lot of people in saying that this entire community has helped out a lot during this difficult period for a lot of people, and our thoughts go out to all the people that have endured difficulties in this period. So thoughts are out there, and if you are struggling, reach out, stay strong. It's not an easy space to deal with things. And as we come down into the closing 10 minutes of this Endurance Championship Round 5 at Silverstone for RCI TV, Racing Club International proudly partnered with RaceDepartment AK Informatica, Raceface, Speed Labs, and Next Level Racing. So if you haven't gone and given our sponsor a like as well, their social medias and links to all of their websites are down in the description below. If you haven't left a like on the stream, please do so as well. And shares, everything's appreciated. We love what you guys are doing, and we love the engagement that we can get out from the chat.
So, 10 minutes remain of this race, and well, it is still the Orion race team that lead out in front, well ahead of the rest of the field. Nicholas Bosselet, though, in the 137. They've had a fairly quiet race as well, haven't they? And of course, James Parker in third for the Project Alien Aston Martin at the moment. Someone asking, or British GT fans specifically, the best RCI racing series? In my opinion, and I know this is going to make George very happy, Porsche Cup, hands down, the most exciting racing series. There's no close second. And looking else, Joshua Lation, one of our fellow commentators. Question for Jesse: if you had to pick between a Lamborghini or a Porsche, what Porsche are you picking? I feel like that's an attack to me.
Yeah, that's not a real question. I think that
sorry, you guys are breaking up. It's a real question. The best Porsche is the best Porsche. So you guys are right.
George,
we should just focus on the race at the moment. Woolmuth is currently under pressure from Felix in that 675 Aston Martin, and of course he's trying to keep his Audi up towards the front end of the order. Sixth place on the running order in your division is definitely a place that you want to defend over losing out to the likes of Conway or Mawson behind as well. So a slip up, a contact, any of that could be difficult to any of these guys on track. So again, it's that mindset. No, you've got 9 minutes. If you've got the potential to make a move, you've got to do it. So you've got to just stick it out and make sure that you have a clean race all the way until that checkered flag waves.
Well, there's battles everywhere you look. Battle for 6th place at the moment with Woolmuth and Felix. Looking further down, the battle between the two leaders in the silver class, Slizik and Danesi, battling it out. And then, of course, further down here as well, we've got Dustin Vust and Carl Mattez towards the back end of the pro class, battling it out as well. And there are a couple of people in the AM class down there as well. Terms and Booth fighting over positions. So battles everywhere we look in the last 10 minutes of the race here, George. And it's been exciting so far. The top 3 look pretty much settled, it has to be said. In fact, you know, maybe even the top 5 look fairly comfortable now. But looking down over, well, what has been an exciting race so far, I mean, George, what has been the standout moment for you so far, as we see Carlos Matis going a bit wide at the end of the hangar straight?
I mean, I think we've seen some good overtakes coming out from a lot of the guys on circuit. I think, you know, for the likes of Barazini getting that runaway and actually putting a big gap out between anyone that was trying to come out. So the Orion race team, both Egger and Barazini together, just doing a phenomenal job for me. Seeing a field like this of drivers being able to pull a gap like they've done is amazing. I think of course, the Project Alien car, we've mentioned it a lot in the stream. I think they've definitely been a highlight to see how well they've got themselves up. And, you know, the likes of teams like this Team Greenlight in the number 16, you know, they've also done well to keep themselves out of trouble, to get themselves up towards the front end of the order. So I think a lot of narratives and a lot of important things to take away. But with 16 minutes to go, Ulmuth on the back of Matcha, and then having Felix right behind is, I mean, this is again, like, you know that, okay, potentially there's a move coming on. Maximilian Ulmuth in that number 16, he's going to have to know that, you know, if he tries to go on the wrong side of the car in front of him, that small mistake could then cost him some points in the championship. So it's a 50-50 decision all the time. If Bart Matcha makes the mistake, the car that we ride on board now with, looking back at Ulmuth's number 16, you know, if he makes the mistake, then, you know, potentially Ulmuth and Felix come through and, you know, can then do what they need to do. But neither of these 3 cars is caught up to a position where they've had to go alongside and put too much pressure on. But as the apexes come and as the time ticks down, it does look like Ulmuth is starting to read the cards of Matcha in front and starting to just close that gap down apex by apex.
He is definitely trying to get there. Will he have enough time? By the way, something I would like to point out, it doesn't going to matter. Actually, Andre Felix, is that a lap car or is that for, no, that is for position. Wilmoth is under attack from Andre Felix here. Can he go around the outside? I don't think he will, but he's certainly letting himself in the door at this time. And of course, Bart Matcha just in front of these 2, so that is going to come into play. If Andre Felix plays his cards right, he could potentially get a top 5 on a day that's been really hard for the 675 Phoenix Racing Portugal team. They could actually come out looking like $1 million here in a few laps time. It has been an incredible race. Ryan, you said earlier what I was talking about flipping the points table over. Well, today we have thrown the table through a window is absolutely what we have here. As it stands, I think Project Alien is going to take over the Pro Championship points lead. Slizik has done such a great job. Him and his team has done such a great job in that 7 Bentley. They lost the lead for the middle stints. They've gotten it back somehow, though admittedly they are under fire. That is less than a second between the 2 of them in the final few laps of this race. And give a call to the 888 of Moman. They have hung in there all day and they have done a great job, and they look like they're going to bring it home in silver. Now, if you wonder why I haven't talked about AM much today, it's because a lot of the people in AM, I can't find their numbers properly, so I don't know what's going on with that. Looking like some kind of error on my end, but I can't really give you adequate updates because some of these teams for me are just not showing up on our board. So there may be a late entries or something of that effect.
This is getting so nuts.
No, it is.
This is so nuts. This is
going to end with somebody backwards and some hurt feelings.
No, don't say
no,
that.
It will though. It will though.
Jesse,
it's the final
don't say that. Felix maybe going to go on the outside. Felix going to try around the outside.
Contact. Oh, he slides it. Mulmuth slides it. Hardcore contact between Felix as they go into the corner. And like I said, this is going to end badly.
Jesse, what? You're just giving bad karma out. This is great racing. There's no contact coming out between these cars.
No,
these guys are pushing it to the... I mean, I mean, a little bit of rubbing is
All
racing.
of this is doing is helping Bart Macha in 5th place get away from these two, and that's exactly what he needs. He needs a little bit of distance between the two. Look how loose Wilmoth is going through the corners here. That Audi clearly loose on those tires, that setup. He is ragging that thing for everything it's worth. But also, he had a bit of a gap, Bart Macha did, but look how fast Wilmoth has made the gap back up. Felix is got to make a move here and make it stick.
Macha is in a position now where, needs to just make use of the pressure that these two drivers behind are putting on each other, needs to get a move on, does not want to find himself in a position where either of these cars is trying to contest, because they will drag each other through. They're down to the last 2 minutes on the racing clock. The race leader will get the indication from the race director when he will be on the final lap. But for now, it is racing down to the line as we go round Silverstone once again out through T1, being cops. And this is where you have to have the wrestle to make sure that you don't lose it all. And up in front, the Audis looking like they're going to go alongside into Maggots, Beckett's. Is it up the inside? Maximilian Wilmoth is going to make a move onto Bart Macha. And that's a place you don't see things done. Brave move coming out from the number 16. And now Bart Macha potentially under attack from Felix behind. Great exit coming out from the Aston Martin, dragging down the stretch of the Hangar Straight. And on the outside, the Aston Martin will put himself.
Oh, the Aston Martin is going to hang on the outside here. I think he's going to either get it done or still be side by side when they go down into the chicane. It is all to play for here. Leader has taken the white flag. They are on the last lap. Berrezzini leading them around. This, the battle for 5th place. Excellently done by the 675. The pass has been made, and all of a sudden, this battle looks completely different than it did a lap ago. 675 leads the 404.
404 Bart Macha now must be feeling the pressure, as he now needs to just know that, can't make the mistakes, can't miss the braking zone, has lost out in terms of, the positions on track, but it's not to be lost as he continues to get his way around. 28 seconds on the race clock remain. Berrezzini still remains our leader of the pro class and overall with Nicholas Bartolett in second place, but this is the battle that we've been enjoying for a good portion of the closing phases of the race, and what a job it's been for them to get themselves into this position. What a job it's been from all the drivers out on the circuit. The 404 of Bart Macha, unfortunately, couldn't hold on right down to the line. Fulvio Berrezzini for the Orion race team in that number 126 will be rounding the field for the final time here tonight for round 5 of the RCI Endurance Championship at Silverstone. And what a drive it's been for the Orion race team. Of course, Matthias Egger doing a great job with him. Takes the checkered flag, does Berrezzini. What a lead they've had over the second place finishers as well. Wow, what a finish coming out from that 126.
Absolutely excellent job. And don't sell the 137 of Bartolett short. They have had a fantastic day. James Parker was gaining on them. In the last 20 minutes, he made up 5 seconds, but it will not be enough. Bartolett will come home second, James Parker third. But we are still watching this fight here. This is Bart Macha, who in the 404 is running sort of in between all of these pack of cars. Harry Conway has very, very quickly gained on Bart Macha now, so this is something we're paying a lot of attention to. Meanwhile, Bartolett still hasn't crossed the line yet, to show you how great Berrezzini and the Orion Racing team's win was today. That's how far they're at. They still haven't crossed the line, and now 63 seconds later they cross the line. 1 minute and 3 seconds. The difference is, here we go, Conway trying to make this a race. Couldn't think this could go any worse for Bart Macha, but Harry Conway looking for 7th place. Harry Conway hard onto the apron of the track, nearly gets into the 404, all clean, racing down the Hager Straight. Who is going to get the run down into the turn? Outside goes Harry Conway. Harry Conway thinking about making to the inside. That was not the Hanger Straight, as I just pointed out. I got confused there for a minute, but coming around, field for the final time again. He won't be able to do it. What a contest by Harry Conway, but what a defense by Bart Macha. Bart Macha had a drift about 20 minutes ago that would put Ken Block to shame, and 7th place confirmed for Macha and Harry Conway 8th, Mawson 9th. LaFay will come home. We didn't talk about the 166 all day, but LaFay will come home in 10th place. And there is your final. Oh, look at that. Okay. He's going to drift through the grass. Berrezzini enjoying this. But there is your results confirmed. Berrezzini over Bosselet, over Parker, your podium. Then Lebrecht, Woolman, Felix, Macha, Conway, Mawson, LaFay, and Slizik does it. He stays in front of Serafini Danesi and takes the win and maintains the AM points lead. Does the 7 of Slizik's 722. Danesi in second. The 888 of Bowman will take home 3rd in the silver class. Holy cow, that came down to the wire.
That's exactly what you want to see coming out into a pro and silver AM split race with drivers of, skill levels and, that we can go on for days and days. What a great race it's been, and what an awesome evening of racing all around. It's been a pleasure to be here with you guys, and what a race coming down to the wire across the field. And I think a lot of the viewers can really appreciate just how much of that racing was just down to the wire, lap after lap, for the entire split of 2 hours.
Well, it's actually interesting. We see James Parker. He's talking publicly, and he says that it was a frustrating race for us, but we'll keep going. Listen, Parker. If you hear this, if you're listening to this, you should not be frustrated today. That was a heck of a redemption for you guys, and I think they took the points lead. Did the Project Alien team? Ryan, final thoughts on everything you've seen here today. And by the way, Ryan, thank you as always for controlling the cameras, commentating, doing it all here. And once again, thank you all for everybody out there watching, all the drivers, the teams, the stewards, everybody. We do definitely appreciate you. But Ryan, final thoughts.
Well, it's been action-packed, hasn't it, from beginning to end on this race. And, just massive shout out again to everyone here to watch the race here tonight. Thank you so much, and your support on the stream, it really does mean a lot to us. And obviously we want to keep going. We've got lots of big events coming up over the next 2 months, in fact, and we just want to keep building, bring more entertainment to you guys. And of course, Race Department AK Informatica, Raceface Speed Labs, and Next Level Racing make all this possible. Of course, big thank you to Race Department and AK Informatica for helping RCI get off the ground. Big thank you to Raceface. Of course, they offer driver coaching. If you're interested in improving your game, taking your game to the next level, you can look at the Raceface Speed Labs coaching. Use code RCI Coaching, by the way, to save on your next Speed Lab session. And then, of course, speaking of going to the next level racing, check out their stands, rigs, and motion platforms if you're interested in taking your game to the next level. So, what do we have coming up RCI-wise over the next couple of days or even weeks? Well, we have a race coming up this weekend. It's the one I've been looking forward to the most. It's on Sunday. It's at Monza. It's the Behemoth Cup. Yep, that's right. Nissans, Bentleys, and BMWs all take to the Temple of Speed to once and for all determine which one of the Behemoth GT3s is the king. I'm guessing it'll probably be the BMW, but there's a lot of Nissans and Bentleys on the grid, so I'm looking forward to an upset. As for what else is going on around RCI, we do have a couple of other things coming up relatively shortly. On Monday, we do have the Aston Martin V12 Vantage Cup happening at Barcelona in a couple of weeks' time. And then, of course, just after that will be the start of Season 2 of the Porsche Cup. And, of course, George Smith will be joining me in the commentary box for that. And, of course, we'll both be looking forward to that immensely. But, of course, we will be back here next week for round 6 of the RCI Endurance Championship at Brands Hatch for a 2-hour race. And, well, it's going to be one of the most interesting rounds of the season. But from myself, from the stewards, from George and Jesse in the commentary box, and everyone else at RCI, thank you very much for watching tonight, and enjoy your weekend.